welcome to the Super Farmer Brothers Super Show. And if you can't tell by this music, we're fixing to get into some nerdy territory, alright? In fact, if you don't even know where the song is from, this is not the podcast for you. I beg of you to please move along because you will not enjoy this, I swear to you. Alright, because we're not just talking about video games today. We're not just talking about the story of a video game. No. We're talking about the lore of a video game. If you don't know what lore is, you don't want to hear about lore, okay? If you don't know what it is, I'm telling you right now, you don't want to hear about it. Even if you do know what lore is, these might not even be the games you want to hear about. So yeah, I'm giving you a lot of warnings, and I'm not going to stop there. Here's another warning. I think we recorded this at like 1 a.m., and so we sound kind of tired. I think maybe even we're not trying to be that loud. I don't know if I'm scared of waking up my grandparents because I was visiting for Thanksgiving when we recorded this. So yeah, 2 hours of that. So I'm not in full comedian mode like you hear me right now. So I don't know, maybe you'll enjoy it when I'm not in full comedian mode. Whatever. The good stuff. A rat does appear a few times, so it freaks us out a little bit. And if you are into stuff like this song, Elder Scrolls, Mass Effect, things like that, maybe you will enjoy this niche episode. I'm not sure. Whatever. Kind of a little experimental. One last warning, Matt, once again, will not shut the hell up. Can we please get a hashtag going, Matt, shut the hell up? Once again, hashtag Matt, shut the hell up. We got to get that trending, guys. It's the only way it's going to happen. Whatever. If those warnings didn't scare you off, you think you might be into this, please enjoy, and we'll catch you up next time. This is Stephen Farmer
and Matthew Farmer
of the Super Farmer Brothers Super Show, and today's guest star is JD/John Daniel Williams. Say hello to the people at home, John Daniel.
I don't know that I'd call myself a star, but hi, how everybody?
Man, look, I try to build this podcast up, and he immediately diminishes all value of this show.
Why are you discrediting yourself already?
You might know John Daniel from, maybe
see, that's the problem right there.
maybe he hooked you up some cable. Maybe you taught your kid math at one point. Maybe you went to school with him.
It makes it sound worse right now.
But you don't have to know him, all right? Because it's not about if you know him. It's about if he knows lore. And this guy is a lore whore. That's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Elder Scrolls lore and MK lore and why that's important. Okay? Because you could say, okay, everybody says you build a video game around the gameplay and you build a story around that. You don't make a story and build a gameplay around that. All right? Agree or disagree with that?
That's tough because
you love lore so much. I like it too.
Yeah, I don't know that I would agree to that. If you look at certain games, I mean, the lore is what drew me into it. The gameplay wasn't necessarily the greatest.
But you like Mortal Kombat lore, but is it the lore that brought you in? Because I know a lot of people, they actually like Mortal Kombat more than Street Fighter. They'll say Street Fighter's got better gameplay, but they like Mortal Kombat just because of the ambiance and the look of the characters and the story and stuff and more.
I think they developed the story better in Mortal Kombat than they ever did in Street Fighter, just because of the way Street Fighter was written.
Now, let me interrupt. Give me the definition of lore. Does that just mean kind of the ambience, the story of the game?
No, I would probably label it more towards is there background for each character and intertwined storytelling, going on between each and every character and each and every faction involved in it.
Because look, okay, you can have a story for Mortal Kombat. You have the story of what's going on, but the lore is like all the background, like who are the Elder Gods, what are all the dimensions. So it's the overall, like just the whole, like I guess
it's the Tolkien effect. I mean, you create a great world and a great set of stories and everything that doesn't have anything to do with the actual book you're writing. It's just the world that's created.
It's the whole world.
There's like Star Wars lore, there's Lord of the Rings lore, World of Warcraft lore.
Yeah, it's like all the stuff that's not just the main story, like the main story and all the other shit going on.
Right.
Like the realm.
And actually, the main story, because you're only dealing with a small portion of the lore, the main story can't be considered to be the major part of the lore. You can't say everything is based on this main story. It's everything that goes along with that.
Yeah, it is weird because, like, I like to make fun of, like, I was like, why do people like sports so much? It's so fucking dumb. Who cares about this and that? And then I'm over here reading about the Nilfgaardian Empire and stuff. Like, who am I to judge somebody, Like, and it's weird the lore you get attracted to sometimes, because sometimes, like, you could be like, okay, I should be mostly into the Witcher lore because it's got all these books and background and stuff. Instead, I'm over here attracted to Mortal Kombat lore, which is a fucking fighting game, but I like it. I like to read about it and know about all the stuff and comics and stuff. And somebody might like Doom lore, where it's just a first-person shooter game made by a guy who rejected story. He didn't even want story in the game.
Look at the people who did for Halo. I mean, people really think that that's like one of the greatest stories ever told in video games, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't agree either.
I'm one of those people who like the Doom lore. It's like there's nothing much to know other than it's just like, you get up there to Mars, and all of a sudden it's this hellacious, and you don't know fucking shit, but it's scary as hell.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, with the lore of some of these things, is just like, okay, I agree with you on that. Halo, everybody's like, Halo's got one of the best stories. I was like, did I miss part of it? Like,
was I not paying attention when that came through?
It's like, am I supposed to be like completely overwhelmed when they tell me this thing is a weapon? I'm like, okay, it didn't like blow.
Didn't
my
see that
mind.
coming.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but it didn't blow my. Here's the thing. Okay, they do a lot of the stuff in games where the story happens during real time, like while you're playing the game and people are talking that shit. But I'm too ADD. If you start talking that story, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So I miss.
You gotta have cutscenes.
Yeah, I had to have cutscenes. I miss. Maybe that works for some people because they like to go get it on the run. But man, when you take away and I'm not watching like a cutscene, I miss so much because I'm way too ADD with that stuff. I'm like, sorry,
That's exactly why Diablo 3 didn't do it for me when it came to that.
I agree to that.
I had fun.
Did you play Diablo 3?
Yeah. Well, on the Xbox,
Okay.
Xbox One.
Yeah, that's what we played on.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't.
We're console peasants.
We played the hell out of Halo 1. For as much as we played Halo 1, it's like
And we never pulled that.
Yeah, right.
I don't think anybody in our social circle really felt that way. But there are people who legitimately think that that's. I'm not saying you're wrong if you're out there. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, like, Nick says Mortal Kombat lore is the dumbest. He says Street Fighter's lore is way better. He said people look at Mortal Kombat ridiculous because people live and die and all these dimensions and crazy characters. But I'm like, yeah, but in that sci-fi world, it does make sense.
Yeah.
You know, Street Fighter lore is dumber because it's more set in realistic shit, so it looks even stupider.
Yeah, I mean, when you set your bounds based on what you are going to believe, what you aren't going to believe, and what's actually possible in that realm. Well, if you're living in the Mortal Kombat realm, you're saying yes, there's Earth, but there's all this other stuff that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're talking about Street Fighter, it's just people. It's just Earth.
It's guys in karate.
Yeah, I mean,
like Bison wants to rule the world by like fighting.
I do actually think that Street Fighter is a better fighting game, but that's
no. I'm not arguing that either because as much as I love Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's fun when you're winning. When you're losing, it really because people are putting you.
That's probably why I don't like Mortal Kombat as much because I'm always losing in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, because 30-40% hit combos, and you wake right back up, and then if you guess wrong between a low and a mid text, it's another 30% combo. Yeah. Street Fighter, it feels like even if you're losing, you at least can put up a fight or something.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. And then so then with like Elder Scrolls, that game was like way too intimidating with the lore. Like so much. Like I don't know. Then you got to read the books. And here's the thing about reading those books. It's like, I would like to read those books, but I'm in the middle of doing all this other shit. I don't want to, like, take a break and read 15 pages and then go back into gameplay, Yeah,
but that's where replay comes into it, too, because that's always been a big attraction for me.
Other characters, other classes.
Yeah, I mean, it also goes into how do you build your character? Is your character, are you becoming a part of that character, or are you just playing the game to play it and see what happens? Or are you actually trying to say, okay, this character is this way, and I'm going to embrace that, and he's going to want to learn more? Like, especially if you were a mage in an Elder Scrolls game. If you're a mage, obviously, you're going to want to learn things. That's the whole, dynamic of being a mage. That's why they have the colleges and all that kind of stuff. So
you learn stuff as a warrior with your smithing and your two-handing?
I'm sure you do learn things, but I'm saying like the actual, more classical, academic type.
Okay, did you learn tomes? You think you're better than a barbarian?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
All right.
My
firestorm.
These games, you can still keep them modernized if you have them on the PC because of mods, graphical updates, and all that shit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but you can't mod lore.
Well, fan fiction. I mean, look at what happens in the Star Wars universe where you have thousands upon thousands. Now, granted, they took all that away, which is terrible. But you had thousands upon thousands of authors who wrote books that became.
That means Shadows of the Empire no longer exists. Is that what they're saying?
That means the Old Republic is no longer part of lore, and that is not the Old Republic MMO, the actual Knights of the Old Republic, the first game.
So that whole game,
it's not lore anymore, not canon.
I've wasted all my time playing Darth Revan.
Damn you, Disney!
You know why they erased it? So they could just copy the storylines for themselves.
Well, I wish they would. I wish they would make a movie based on the first storyline.
Did you like Episode 7? I hated it.
Episode 7?
Yeah.
I mean,
Force Awakens. I fucking hated it.
I don't know that I'd say I hated it, but it wasn't. It's definitely not my favorite of any of them. It does rank above at least two of the last three.
Oh yeah, dude, I didn't like Revenge of the Sith either because I felt like I hated it even more because people liked it so much. Because people were like, no, this one's better. It's all dark. It's like just because it's dark doesn't make it. It's the same thing as the second one. It's the same directorial way. It's the same tone. It's just a little bit darker.
The worst part is that the character arc for Anakin is better in the damn cartoon than it is in the two movies that are based on him. I know the story.
I don't watch anything that's not the original trilogy. I don't watch Ewoks.
Well, I don't watch Ewoks either, but I mean...
I don't watch the Christmas special from the 80s.
You didn't watch the dance?
I'm making some really big stands here. I watched the dance of that fucking CGI shit they had in the remake version of Return of the Jedi.
I watched that today, actually. Yeah, that was on today. They had all 6 episodes. Why did they add that in? I have no idea.
Okay. That was the only version I ever saw, and I really liked it.
I hate you.
Or they added that dumb shit into like the sandworm. Where
the Sarlacc pit. Yeah,
they made it less scary.
Of course, anytime that you add CGI to something that was already established and already great, why would you do that? I mean, you're not going to create anything new. You're just.
So you started off with Morrowind with like the lore. I mean, you started off with Morrowind, right?
Yeah, that's the first Elder Scrolls game I played. Yeah.
And did you beat it?
Not the first time I played through it. I actually did not beat Morrowind, the main storyline, until after I had played Oblivion. I played it several times.
The lore of that game is fucking insane. Like
it's great.
To hire writers to do that. Could you imagine being a writer? Is like somebody's like, have you written any novels? I know I wrote a bunch of like fragmented stories in an overall world for a game. Because I've heard of writers who will come up with this world for their story, and they spend so much time making the greatest world ever and write no actual story to it. But now with video games, there's actually a place for that where you can make worlds and never have to actually write a story. Because I think some people are better at that kind of thing. You know?
As long as you're a part of a team, because you still, you still need a story there for the actual game itself. Yeah. But there is a place in the world now for people who just write lore, just create that environment.
Yeah, because I know people who write cool stories, but the lore is so boring. And for some reason, I don't know, it's just ADD for me, but I actually like a really good story set with all this crazy shit going on in the background. I like a Vampire Hunter D world or like a Elder Scrolls world where there's all these different races and monsters and beasts. And I see these really cool stories in movies and stuff like, too bad it's wasted on our realistic world where there's just like humans. Like I want fucking Minotaur or something in the background or a Cyclops going on.
Yeah, but you can also go too far with that. I mean, you have to know the bounds. You have to know the bounds of whatever medium you're working in. So.
I like high fantasy, but sometimes it just some people take it a little too far. So it's knowing how to do it like in the right way. But I mean, like you like Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. For me, I feel Lord of the Rings is too boring for me. Mm-hmm. Like at the time, I feel like Lord of the Rings would have been the best thing ever. Like back in those days, you didn't have anything.
Yeah.
The only thing close to an elf was a fucking like Christmas little helper, Santa's little helper or something, and then he made elves cool. And then everything's based off of that, so I'm not going to shit on it because that's the father of modern fantasy.
Right.
I realize it's just like when I watch these older comedians, like, yeah, I know Richard Pryor and George Carlin when everything started, but I just can't watch them and get the same enjoyment that somebody in the 70s would have got.
Well, you don't have the same context, especially, and it's more obvious in comedy because they're making jokes about things that are actually going on at that time.
Well, topical comedy. But everybody's taken their groundbreaking approach, and we've made it even further.
But you're still not gonna get the same effect because you've seen it before. You've seen that approach, and you're also not gonna. The comedy's not gonna be the same because you're not dealing with the same issues.
Yeah, and Lord of the Rings, I don't like because I hate that overall like the ultimate evil, the ultimate. I like gray areas like kind of Game of Thrones where like even when there are a few like super pretty evil people, but even they have like some kind of human quality. Some of them, unless you're Joffrey or whatever. But I like kind of like things like that. Whereas like Lord of the Rings was too much like Sauron's the ultimate evil and this guy's the ultimate good.
But that plays off of Tolkien's religious background as well. I mean, very devout. And also, same thing with C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis is even more obvious, but I mean, you're always going to take parts of yourself and put it into whatever story or world you're creating. So you knew it was going to be there. The only thing that the Lord of the Rings part that I don't like is how very few people have taken that same base and changed it as far as gone a completely different direction with the type of characters that there are. Like elves are always considered to be, pretty much the way they are in Lord of the Rings. Or they're always considered, humans are always considered to be pretty much the way they are in Lord of the Rings. Nobody ever really branches out with that.
What do you mean?
Like, you've got the elegant elf, that always is perfect and all that. They think they're better than everyone, or they are better than everyone, and they fight with grace, and they have magical properties and that kind of stuff. You never see an elf who's wild out in the woods and they just hunt and kill things. Well, yeah, but at the same time, they still have magical powers. They still embrace the culture of.
Would you like for them to change elves?
Aldmeri? Yeah, Aldmeri.
Would you like them to change elves, or you like to kind of keep it like a little similar to that?
I don't like changing stuff within the context of Elder Scrolls. No, because it's already.
I'm talking about somebody else wrote fantasy and had elves. Would you rather than make them like they're all like kind of just normal people, where they're not like as elegant as humans, where they reverse the roles?
Yeah, and it's kind of you kind of see that even in like the Dragon Age series, where the elves are like looked down upon and they're slaves and things like that. So I do like that idea, and I like the idea of even intermingling those. You have one set of elves that are really high class and powerful and elegant, and then you also have another class that are just
has like different types of
elves. Different types of elves. You'd use the same idea, but you would space it out in more of a.
Did Tolkien invent orcs? Were there orcs before Tolkien?
I think there were orcs before Tolkien, but you also got to think Tolkien kind of interplayed the whole orc and goblin thing, and then he later on to split it up into this is what they are.
If there were orcs before Tolkien, he's the one who made it mainstream.
Probably.
Just like I never heard about velociraptors before Jurassic Park. It was always the Deinonychus.
Yeah, well, they also made them 6 foot tall.
Yeah, the Deinonychus was the known because it's like a raptor, except it's way bigger than a raptor, unless it's a Utah raptor. But Deinonychus doesn't roll off the tongue.
Does not sound very threatening.
Velociraptor sounds way better. So
right.
I understand what they did with it. And then the thing with orcs. Were elves ever known as like that kind of cool elf we know today before like Tolkien?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't read a lot of fantasy prior to Tolkien anyway. And obviously, there's not any medium other than literature.
Do you read any other fantasy stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I read a few things that are more based in fantasy. Most of the reading that I do now is actually more in the sci-fi side of it.
More like Mass Effect-y?
Yeah, Star Wars. I actually am more into the talkie tech side when it comes to writing. More like kind of a Star Trek type deal.
Okay.
But as far as like the cinema, it's definitely more on the action side, like Star Wars. But
sounds like you got the right answer.
Yes.
All right. Good job. All right. Next question for $500. Hope they can hear that on this podcast. So yeah, like that's what I was wondering about. Okay, so then you got like high elves and dark elves in like Elder Scrolls, but they also have dark elves in Dungeons and Dragons. They're called like dark elves or drow elves or something like that. So
I guess something like that also in World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft, yeah.
They have blood elves and they have
blood elves are actually
night elves.
White ones.
Yeah, they have night elves. But I wonder if anybody's getting sued for like, oh, you took my idea for an elf. Like if you took a wood elf and a dark elf and a high elf, would Elder Scrolls sue you because you took their ideas of elves or something?
I don't know.
They change it all around though. Like let me say this: like in World of Warcraft, the dark elf or the night elves are actually like more like wood elves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they switch it all around and stuff like that.
But it would all be. I mean, it's all based on intellectual property, just like anything else would be. I mean, are you wholeheartedly stealing that idea, or are you taking something that's already been in existence, like the Tolkien dynamic or the Tolkien entire world, and just modifying
it's like
that?
Dwarves are always like these
greedy, always.
But like,
all right, another one.
Dude, your dwarven racism's on point today. Dwarves are. Finish this sentence. Dwarves are greedy. Racist and stuff like that. It would be cool if we did have elves and dwarves, because then it'd be a lot harder for people to just be racist against the guy who's like black or something. He's like, at least his ears aren't all pointy. Got these pointy ear son of a bitches coming in here taking our jobs. But dwarves are like short, but they're great warriors. But I've seen like dwarves in real life, and I wouldn't think that guy's gonna kick my ass at all.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's mad if I call him like a midget.
Yeah, but that's also not necessarily the same thing that they're considering to be dwarves. That's why you call dwarves is a fantasy term. That's like you don't call a group of little people dwarves. They're dwarves.
I think they like to be called dwarven or dweemer.
Dweemers. Yes, call them that next time you see one. Next time you see a man with a physical disability, call him a dweemer.
He's a deep elf.
That'd go over real well.
No, I like to in my story I'm writing right now. I kind of combine like the idea of the traditional dwarf with like the Elder Scrolls dwarf, so where they got both things going on. They're like technologically advanced and they're like
Which the technological thing is always been a part of it, but not near to the level that Elder Scrolls would be.
I like the Dragon Age idea of a dwarf. Was actually pretty cool.
Which part are you talking about?
In Dragon Age, the way those cities look down there.
Oh yeah.
That was awesome.
It is cool, and the closer you live to the surface, the better you are, except if you're on the surface. So.
But and then in what is it? Guild Wars, they have this idea of like super like deep dwarves that don't want to associate with anything on the land and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
But underground is always a big thing in any kind of fantasy or even science fiction. That's like
it's where they're evil.
Yeah, I mean you can do it either evil or you can do they're secluded and they like to stay away. Which I guess it kind of lends itself to the type of character you're creating. So.
A Hobbit only goes so far.
Yeah, but they don't like people coming around either.
Why do people like Hobbits so much? I think that's the most boring race to ever come up with. Something that's just got some hairy feet and it's a little bit smaller.
Okay, in any book you fall in love with, or the goal is for you to fall in love with the main character.
Yeah.
So you had the Hobbit originally, and then you had the Lord of the Rings, where you could argue the main protagonist is Frodo, but there's also an argument for it's Aragorn too. So Strider, yes.
That's why I know him.
Ranger.
The Ranger. He's a Ranger.
Ranger from the north.
How much did you hate? I fucking hated those Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
So badly. And I saw them all.
Money
so
grab.
I'm part of the problem. I saw them all.
Oh yeah, I saw all three of them.
I saw the first one, so the second one, that was it. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. I couldn't take the fact that Legolas was in there, but whatever.
Oh, that did ruin it so bad. I hate those movies.
I do think it's funny that there was a time period when everyone wanted Legolas to be like an action hero. It was like, that's just so terrible.
Yeah, well, dude, I hated all this shit. It's fucking terrible. And so Elder Scrolls, I like their world better than the Lord of the Rings world. Which one do you like better?
Oof. The one I've spent more time in is definitely Elder Scrolls.
Well, yeah.
But I'm engaged in that as far as playing a video game.
But do you like
reading books?
Do you like the idea that an orc can be not like purely evil, or do you like the idea of orcs are these pure evil things like in Lord of the Rings?
I like the way World of Warcraft is done it way better.
Way better than either of those two. I like the idea in the Elder Scrolls series more, but at the same time, it kind of goes back to the whole thing you were talking about, where you have a wholly good or wholly evil. Well, it's kind of hard to have a gray area when you have a supreme evil character, in Lord of the Rings. Well, you can't have his minions be partly good.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't. So it definitely depends on how the story is written, but I personally prefer the way it is in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, I mean, with Elder Scrolls, it's I like it a lot. I mean, I love, I just find this book. I'm over here in this cave, and I'm reading it. I'm like, this is one of the, few books I actually read. So, you know what? I want to read a book, okay?
Yeah.
It's about Vivek. Let me hear about this Vivek guy, because, he's a pretty big character in Morrowind. And what I read is he's having sex with Molag Bal, and he wants to consummate all this sex with a marriage, like a ceremony. And in the sex, Molag Bal will sometimes rip off Vivek's head in the sex. They have some pretty hardcore sex. And then one time, Vivek bit off Molag Bal's penis and turned it into a spear. And he actually shoved it into Azura's mouth. I don't know if that was part of a sex thing either. And I'm like, what the fuck? I gotta read every book. Is it anything like this?
I don't think they're all like that. I've never actually found that book, so I can't really attest to that particular story.
I was like, Vivek, you're supposed to be like a god on earth, and out of everybody you want to fuck Molag Bal. Is he over there like, you don't know Molag Bal like I do? He's got a nice side to him. I know he's known as the king of rape, which is...
Yeah, even less of a reason to be with him.
Which is usually a really bad first impression when his title is the king of rape. But it's pretty bad. But
it's all cultural, man. It's all cultural.
Yeah, but a lot of people are pissed off about the way they did Elder Scrolls Online's lore. I don't know if you know anything about it or not.
I actually haven't played the Elder Scrolls Online, so any lore that's been added because of that, I'm not going to know a whole lot about.
It's going to be a lot because it's a story that never took place. They just made up a story in the past.
But at the same time, I do agree with you on that. I don't like to retroactively go back and change lore.
Well, that's why I say about prequels at all times, because no matter what, when you do a prequel, you're going to be... They might have referenced the story you're going to make, but you're going to be adding so much stuff, because just this few things they said isn't enough for a movie. You got to have a bunch of stuff going on. And then a lot of this stuff's not going to make sense when you go back to the one.
Well, you can still work around it as long as you operate within structured time frames. Like, you can go back and look at the history of of Tamriel and the entire timeline there, and there's spaces where there's things that are set in stone during those times, like who the emperor was and all that kind of stuff. But there's enough space there to have a story. Whereas with the Elder Scrolls Online, I mean, you're adding, alliances, and you're adding a whole entire war, an entire freaking thing, and there's not enough time and space in the history for that. So that would be my only problem.
I wish they would add those races from the Akaviri.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I want to be the snake people.
Really cool.
And come in there and do some stuff.
It'd be really cool to actually get to do even if they kind of went the route Mortal Kombat X went with, or Mortal Kombat 9, I'm sorry, where they changed the history but do it like through Dragon Break, do it through.
Go back.
Yeah, and you have a different reality that they merge back at some point. So that would be cool as a game. I don't necessarily know that I would like for them to add that as some type of canon. But
what are the top 5 games that have the best story to you?
Oh, Mass Effect's number 1 until the end. But
the ending.
Mass Effect followed very closely by Knights of the Republic 1. Just the best Star Wars story there's ever been.
Anything by BioWare?
Pretty much, no.
Next is Jade Empire.
No, actually, Jade Empire's not on my list for greatest story. I loved the game, but it's not on my list for greatest story.
I thought it was actually a pretty cool twist. Is like the bad guy, like they're being bad by like what they're doing to the dragon to keep rain coming.
Yeah,
but at the same time, that dragon's is going to take off and everybody's going to die.
Yeah, it's
they're holding
a necessity,
on to the life cycle.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make the same argument for the original concept for the Reapers in Mass Effect. They're doing something that's beyond our comprehension that keeps us alive. Well,
it's not that beyond. He's like, I understand.
Yeah, when you come to the third game and you tell me we stopped the synthetics from killing all the organics,
yeah, and then it's like,
well, I can understand that.
I thought I was kind of cool that like robots were before humans. I'm like, that is weird. It doesn't make sense, but that's kind of cool. Like synthetic is actually an organic kind of thing or something like that. And like, no, actually a race came before them and actually built them. I was like, that just demystified everything about them. Like next thing, no, I thought that was cool. Like,
but it makes it finite too, which I do like that part of it. It makes it finite. It's not just this infinite history of.
So you like it when things could be comprehended. How does it finite?
In a science fiction world? Yes.
Who made the people who made the Reapers?
Well, they're trying to base that off biology. Like they developed, they evolved into that being.
So that's the first people that ever exist. Their first idea is to make things that kill everything. Reapers.
No, I mean there's a DLC in the third one. I don't know if you ever played that, where they actually. I can't even remember the name of the DLC, but that's
Leviathan.
I mean it brings up the Leviathans.
I got so pissed off by the ending. That's what I'm talking about endings. Like
we have another friend that did the same thing.
Who?
So Nick.
You got so pissed off by the ending, he didn't do anything else?
Yeah, he's never done anything else other than the original.
Yeah, see, that's a problem with this kind of thing, man. Okay, so you get these games where they have multiple stories in them,
mm-hmm.
and then at the end, there's like one thing you could do that changes everything. Isn't that stupid?
Yeah, well...
It's like, I could be evil the whole time, but if I make a good choice in the end, I get the good ending.
I'm redeemed. Yeah, but I mean, look at life. I mean, there's people who've made lots of mistakes, and then they do one thing, and that's what they're remembered for. Or it's all about how the history is written.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah. Name an example of that. I guess maybe a long time ago in history.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all about what's recorded and what's put out
there.
Well,
The Witcher 3 doesn't allow that though. Like you had to make. If you fucked up here and here, you can maybe get like a medium ending, but you can't get this ending. And then Chrono Trigger was made on Super Nintendo a long time ago. They came with 16 different endings.
As far as a gameplay mechanic, yes, I like the idea of if you do everything right, you can get the best ending. I love that idea because I'm kind of that kind of guy. Like I want to be able to try to strive and achieve that ultimate thing.
Everything right? What is right?
Well, everything that's necessary to get a certain ending, whether it be right or wrong, whether it be evil or good. You know, if you have to accomplish these things. Really oh, you really wanted to know what's
right. Trying to get deep. No, like, the thing for me is, okay, it used to be all about the JRPG when I was growing up. It's all about Final Fantasy, you know. Now, the Western RPG is fucking dominating. You know, things like BioWare.
Yeah, but also gaming's excelled a lot more in our society, as opposed to where it was when we were kids.
Well, I'm saying, like, do you like more you are responsible for the story, or do you like more like somebody made a really good story for you to play through, and you like to just experience the story they made for you? What do you like better?
Oh man, that's difficult. I like for the story to be there, but I like to be able to choose how and what happens. You know, I like for there to be a theme, but I like for me to actually feel like I'm in control of that character.
Yeah, see, sometimes it's tough for me. Sometimes I just like to experience the story they made. I'm like, let me see the really good story.
Yeah, but see, that's
until my characters make it dumb. I'm like, why would you do that? Then I. Like
but if you want that's where I come from on that particular topic. Is that if you want to be told a story, then you can watch a film, or you can read a book.
Yeah.
If you want to experience a story, if you want to go
to
the
video game.
Well, I mean, you get another level of immersion and investment in the character. I mean, when you watch a film, a long film is what, 3-4 hours? I mean, that's a really long film.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're investing that character for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And you go about your life. Your books, even more. You know, you spend more time than that reading a book, but you get really invested. Okay, there are video games out there where you're spending hundreds of hours with this character.
Yeah, and that's what's funny. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, man, the game had such a good story. I felt so deep with that character when they died. It's like, when you think about it, it's not like you cared so much about the characters because of story and you felt like you were around the character a lot. It's like you felt like you were around them a lot because you were like grinding and leveling up forever and grinding for hours. So, like, yeah, you do feel like you knew them pretty well because you were spent so much time with them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what in my opinion, that's what the goal of any type of entertainment is. You want to get invested in it. You want to develop a relationship with whoever that character is.
I'm going to name 2 of the biggest moments for me. Okay, here's 3 of the biggest moments. Okay, movie-wise, in Pulp Fiction, when Bruce Willis is about to leave that shop when he escapes, and then he goes back in, he's like, you know what, I hate this guy, he's about to kill me, but I can't even let that guy happen to him. And he goes in and grabs a weapon, and he's looking through the weapons, and he's like, grabs a gun, grabs this, like, oh fuck, I'm getting a katana blade and stuff, and he goes back down there. That was I was like, oh my god, that was awesome. TV show wise, nothing's ever impacted me like Game of Thrones.
Sean Bean's death.
This last season, I want to say.
Hey, wait, stop before. No. I'm a season behind, so I'm going to cover my ears during this. So
okay, it's the episode before the last episode. It's an ending, and it's a huge war episode. It's a huge battle. And towards the end of that, I was on my seat. Like, I was, you know, people say, like, you know, the metaphorical, on the edge of your seat. Or standing, you know, standing on top of my couch. Like, and then I stood up and walked towards the TV. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. That's how good that show was. So that's the biggest I've ever had with a TV show. And it sucks that you two haven't seen it because I can't tell you about it. But you guys need to watch it. If you're not fucking watching all of Game of Thrones, you're wasting your life. That's how good it is. Now, video game wise, the biggest impact I've ever had in my life that's ever hit me was playing Mass Effect 2. When I go down to rescue Archangel and he takes off his helmet and it's Garrus, I'm like, I felt like a sensation. I felt is like I just ran into a friend that I hadn't seen in forever. And I was like, Garrus, dude. And it felt so much to me because I know in Mass Effect 1, I took this disillusioned guy who kind of almost gave up on the system and stuff, and through being a really good leader, taught him how to go out and do the stuff and inspired him to go out and do what he's doing. And he's going out there being a fucking lone wolf mercenary badass doing the things I was doing after he thought I was dead. And he almost has the same feeling seeing that I'm still alive. So that was a huge moment for me in the game.
That particular little part that you talked about there with Garrus, about how, you know, through your leadership you taught him to be a better leader. That particular part can be seen through all the characters. Yeah. Coming from Mass Effect, that follow you from Mass Effect 1 all the way through to Mass Effect 3.
Talking about, what's his name, the Krogan?
Yeah, I mean, you got the Krogan, you got
what was
Garrus,
his name,
you got...
one of the first one?
Oh,
Rex.
Rex, you got Rex, you got... And even Grunt in the second one, he becomes like the badass leader of that particular group. Oh, yeah. And then you've got...
Who was it that really liked Grunt? You or Nick or something?
I didn't have a problem with Grunt, but he wasn't my favorite character.
I had a problem with him. But
yeah, I mean, he could probably kick my ass. No. Tali Zora is the same way. I mean, she goes from being a little kid that's out on her, you know, where she has to go and find something and bring back to the fleet, and she goes to being a freaking general. So, I mean, you can see that dynamic throughout the whole thing, which is great, and I'm glad that that's, you know, an experience that they give you in that game. Moments-wise, for me, I'm assuming is what you're asking.
Yeah. My long-winded thing about me
was to ask me.
Was to ask you.
Video game-wise, Man, when I actually figured out that your character in
Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic was Revan.
Yeah.
That was I know this is going to sound weird, but that was like my first mature gaming experience. And what I mean by mature is not like, anything to do with mature rated content. It's more like, being invested and understanding and really being a part of it. I'm not playing Mario Kart here. I'm actually invested in this character. And that's really the first experience that was really, shock and awe, and followed closely by another BioWare game, Mass Effect.
Yeah.
The first time that you actually talked to Sovereign is...
I didn't think that was as big as a twist as everybody said about the old...
It's not really the twist that got me. It was just that moment of
being
being involved in there.
You know what was big for me in Mass Effect 1 was the fact that, it's the first human Spectre, is that what they were called?
Yeah.
And, I love the fact that humans were at the bottom of the food chain, we were so far behind and stuff.
Yeah.
I like that underdog feel. I feel like they kind of lost that in the next games. They kind of, didn't really push that as far. I feel they kind of, let humans just kind of, be up there with
Well, I mean,
else.
they changed direction in the storytelling anyway, with Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. But...
Mass Effect 2 I felt like had the best story and had really good, tone and ambiance and everything to it. And lore, and Mass Effect 2 I felt was really good with the character, the characters and stuff, because you spend a lot of time with them, all that kind of stuff. And I even felt like it was kind of cool with the Elusive Man. It's okay, any guy going by Elusive Man's got to be a piece of shit and evil. He's using your stuff. But Martin Sheen didn't play him like an evil dude. He played him like a really pragmatic, makes sense. Maybe he's doing the right thing, maybe he's doing the wrong thing and stuff. I thought that was really cool with it.
Yeah, it felt right.
Yeah.
With that character, because that's honestly what Cerberus was trying to do. Especially if you read some of the stuff that goes along with Cerberus, not necessarily the novels, but some of the stuff that goes along in the game, Codex entries. That was originally the idea, and I liked it. I liked the way he portrayed it.
Yeah, that's why I thought. I hate when people overplay the evil, the evil laugh and all of that shit. I mean, maybe some people like that, some really simple stuff, but I like characters.
But there's a time and a place for simple too. I mean,
no, I understand that. But there's too much of that, I feel like I like every character to think they're, fucking Stalin and Hitler. They think they're the good guys, George Lucas thinks he's a good guy for the shit he's done,
You thought he improved.
I like that too, where it's not, this is the bad guy. This is kind of cookie cutter thing. I like it where they both have their belief in their mind.
Well, it's more legitimate. I mean, it's more honest. Nowhere, name a leader throughout history that was honestly thought they were a terrible person.
That's what I'm saying. And I also want, them to almost, their side actually kind of makes a little bit of sense. People, as much as they hate it.
Well, create that dilemma. I mean, make you actually decide on your own. Give you a choice.
Yeah.
Do I agree with him?
Exactly.
Have they made a game like that where you can pick a side and you see the whole...
No, that's what they missed in Mass Effect.
Stormcloaks and the Imperials.
Skyrim. If they would have left all the extra content in there, that would be
they
great.
should do that with a game and a movie.
Well, make two separate movies?
Yeah, and release them at the same time.
Hey, good idea.
Nobody's done it.
I like it. The part that I think they missed out in Mass Effect 3 was it was set up. You could have went so many routes in Mass Effect 3. You could have had the same style, levels and everything, and you could have been able to be, follow the council and follow what they were trying to do and trying to stop the Reapers. You could have just stuck with humanity's interest, and went Cerberus. Or you could have, helped the Reapers actually get what they wanted done because you agree, you come to realize or agree with what they're trying to do and stop the synthetics. I mean, you had all these three options, and instead you follow this one linear path to the very end, and then you have those three options with one click. Whereas you could have had three separate entire gaming experiences.
Well, see, that's the thing, and I'm letting lore fuck me up sometimes because I'm letting Mortal Kombat X's story was so bad. It almost made me not even want to play the game anymore. And then Mass Effect 3's ending so bad, I didn't play any of the DLC. Usually, every time I beat Mass Effect, I replay it with another character. I'll beat it with my Paragon that looks like me, like a white guy with blonde hair, and then I'll beat it with my evil character, which is a black girl. That's the opposite of me, a black woman. And then she's pure evil. Like black people.
I'm glad that's not your worldview. Wow, I got so lost on that. That's just terrible.
But I let lore affect me too much, and some people was like, "Dude, it's about the game. Just play it for fun and stuff." It's like, but Mass Effect, you gotta let the lore.
I agree to that. I agree to that. Now, the lore has to affect you. That's why you're investing in that character. Which the Mass Effect does a great job of. It's your Shepard. I mean, they don't even look the same. It's your Shepard.
Yeah, this is my Shepard, and this is his favorite store in the Citadel.
Well, my Shepard, harbors a little bit of resentment or racism towards other races, or my Shepard is all about everybody being together. Or
my Shepard likes Hinar but hates homosexuals.
You can create anything, but going back to you not playing Mass Effect 3, I'm all about the fact that ending made me very upset. But the game is good enough that I encourage anyone who didn't play it after they beat it one time, I encourage you to go back and play it again. I mean, even if you redo it with the same character, dude, I do encourage, because it is a very, if they could make the other two games with that gameplay, I do like the first game and that it's more RPG style, and it's also more exploration based. I like that part of it, but the actual combat and the user interface.
The combat is obviously best in part 3 because they made a multiplayer.
Right. But the multiplayer's not. It's very good. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, but it's not the same style multiplayer that would really lend itself to,
I thought I saw a rat or something.
Oh, that's even better.
I thought I did too.
This is interesting.
Okay, maybe I just saw something random. I don't know. Okay, never mind. Rat break for the podcast.
It's a dragon break.
Yeah, dragon break. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the thing with that whole change shift in the story and everything is when you hire different writers, don't you think that just fucks up the whole thing?
Yes, very much so, and that's. I have a very big disdain for someone who is hired in and alters the way the story's going.
Yeah.
Not saying that you can't, somebody can't get hired in and do a great job with writing the story and tell their story the way they want it to be told. I just like being able to see the direction continue on with what the original writer had in mind. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about that. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
I put my foot down right there. I'm not going to say another word about it. No, that's the thing about it is I don't know. I liked a lot of the characters in part 2, but they got rid of them all. You couldn't use them at all. It was okay, they're doing their own thing now, and you don't really get to catch up much with them at all. And then the ending, you don't really get to do anything with them, and no matter what you've done, all these choices doesn't really matter. The Arachnite thing never really paid off. I thought that Arachnite thing was going to be huge.
It's very poorly executed. I agree. That's kind of what you were alluding to with the changing of the writers. I mean, all of these things that could have been built on weren't because the writer wanted to go in a different direction. Now, granted, I understand they had to change, or they felt they had to change things because of the leakage and all that kind of stuff, but there's so much good stuff in 2 that you could have made that third game about. I love how we're spending half of this podcast on Mass Effect 3, which is amazing to me.
Well, it's a huge game of story. We'll talk about Elder Scrolls and stuff. Mario Kart's got some really good lore. We'll talk about that in a minute. Dude, I would get into Nintendo lore if they had enough going on and stuff, but they don't care. I think Nintendo treats its games its Mario games they're just a cast of actors playing different movies. It's your favorite cast of Mario actors will be in Mario Kart. That's why they do that. Mario Brothers 3, they have a curtain.
Play,
it's like a stage play, and all this stuff looks like background stuff. So they're really
it's really cool.
And what Nintendo game is there for lore? I guess there's
Zelda,
but they start over every time.
Star Fox. I actually like Star Fox lore. I've written a treatment for a screenplay about Star Fox. I would want to make for some reason I want to make a movie about Star Fox.
You also got to understand, I didn't play a lot of Nintendo. I mean, I didn't even their entire brand. So there's not a lot of stories.
They wouldn't let you. They don't let you fucking touch Nintendo properties. They're really weird about it.
Metroid. They made 3 Metroid Prime, so the stories continue. And they made Other M or whatever.
Dude, I played Other M. That was the worst story ever.
Yeah, I've heard that was bad.
That's the thought.
I don't know.
I thought it was gonna be the best. It's finally a 3D Metroid from the guys who made Ninja Gaiden, my favorite game of all time, and then it's fucking terrible.
But yeah, their properties I really don't know a lot about. I respect those games based on what they accomplished within the industry, but as far as knowing anything about them, I'm not going to be able to give you any good information on that.
Well, what do you like so much about Elder Scrolls lore?
I just like the depth of it. I mean, that's the biggest part of any lore to me is how well put together is the entire universe. I guess is what you'd call it.
Well, the thing it's kind of weird to me is like at first when I was playing Morrowind, I was like, okay, all this thing about gods and stuff, it's like maybe they exist, maybe they don't exist. People don't know, but they worship them anyway. But then I found out, no, they definitely exist.
Yeah, it's a real thing in this world.
It's not even up for debate.
Right.
Like living gods. Which was funny, the tribunal is actually guys who just got a hold of some stuff and made themselves into gods. So they're not real gods. I guess you'd call them demigods or whatever, or just really powerful sorcerers because of whatever.
Half gods.
Yeah, but they're gods or whatever. So, I don't know. I didn't know any of this stuff going on in Morrowind when I played it. I kind of understood Oblivion when I played it. I didn't really know Skyrim when I played it. I've had to go to YouTube and watch videos on videos on videos to learn what the fuck's going on in Elder Scrolls. And now I kind of think I know a little bit.
That unofficial Elder Scrolls page wiki, it's a good place to go to just because it seems to be kept up really well by the moderators. I mean, they actually thin out things that aren't officially canon. And they also bring in a lot of things from the actual literature within the game, which is cool to me. Yeah. So that's really where I would go if you're looking to find information that you didn't know beforehand. Yeah. But obviously the best way to do it is to go in the game and actually listen to the stories and read the books and that kind of stuff, just because it's always there. But I do like the fact that I don't know that I would like this for every game, but I think I like it for the Elder Scrolls games. Certain things about the universe and the way things work change with every game, and it's a necessity based on the gameplay mechanic. But little
like
things
if they
change.
make a game in Black Marsh, all of a sudden you can actually breathe in these places.
Yeah, I mean you would have to, but at the same time, but I mean they even cover some of that. That Black Marsh doesn't have near the same toxicity as it used to, but people still refer to it as being, oh, you'll go down there and die, but it's really not quite that way.
They've actually said that already?
Yeah.
Oh, so they're leading up.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they're leading up to it.
I hear rumors that the next one's going to take in Valenwood.
Valenwood, yeah.
Valenwood or whatever.
Yeah, what else? Which that would be really cool, too. I would love to see the Green Pact and the houses and the trees and everything like that.
You want to see the Green Pact? How do you see it? Like, you
want to see people get eaten. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Yeah, that actually would be cool.
Well, I would just like to see the effects of it.
Wood elves don't want to get in fights because they're like, oh, I don't want to have to eat you.
Well, I mean, the Green Pact is be an interesting thing to be around.
Yeah. Green Pact means that they made a deal with like the forest, deities or whatever. Yeah. Like, they're not going to eat anything that comes to the earth, like no berries, no fruit, vegetables. Or
they're also not going to damage it.
They're not going to use any wood to make anything, which is weird because in Valenwood in the game, there's a giant tree that things live in and stuff. So I don't.
Well, they can't and they can get wood from certain forests that are far enough away. That's why, like in people make mods for Skyrim where they've actually made like tree houses and stuff, and it all depends on where they got that lumber
so
from.
Wood elves are blown away when they go to a city and they can buy wood and this.
What the hell?
So Green Pact is they can't do anything with wood, so they can only live off the animals they kill or meat. But anything they kill, they have to eat it to respect it. You can't just kill something and leave it there. So that means anything they kill, they have to eat. That means if they go to a war or
they have to eat everybody.
They have to eat. So they have to do cannibalistic things because out of the Green Pact, like, I don't want to have to kill you because that means I have to eat you.
Which is so weird because they're actually tolerated by like the High Elves or what was it, the Aldmere Dominion now when they restarted that. I mean, because that's so different from High Elf culture. So I don't know. It's funny to me, but I would love to see the Green Pact in action and the architecture there.
If you play Elder Scrolls Online, you can get an idea of what they might do with it.
No, I need to do it.
They got some cool stuff. That's where I am right now. I've been to Somerset Isles.
I would actually love to go see, Hammerfell.
Oh, really?
I would love to see the Regatta and all that kind of stuff. Do what?
Mm-hmm.
And go PC. I've got to actually get a gaming PC.
Not politically correct.
That's the main reason I got Elder Scrolls Online. I just want to see what all these provinces look like because I never got to see it.
Well, you get to see them in Arena.
Do you?
Not the same way, but you do go to all of them. Yeah.
You really go to Black Marsh?
You go everywhere.
Okay. It's probably really basic, rudimentary.
Yeah. You ever seen any screenshots of the Arena?
So does Cyrodiil and Morrowind look like they do in Arena?
No.
At all?
No.
Okay, then there's no point.
Well, I mean, not at all. I mean, hell, Cyrodiil looks like any ancient fantasy game.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are those Striders or whatever?
Still Striders, yeah.
Are those in ESO, Steve?
I think they're only in Vardenfell, and that's the only part of Morrowind you don't get to go. You don't get to go to the island. You only get to go to the coastal parts of it.
Is it still under Blight in the Elder Scrolls Online?
I have no idea. It's in the second era, so whatever.
I don't know. So
they're too busy dealing with Malog Ball and stuff like that. So I like.
Are there Oblivion gates in it?
No, that's the third era. No, I like the end of the third era. So I play freaking that game, Elder Scrolls, and I'm playing Morrowind, and I'm like, this game is so alien. Everything looks so different and stuff. And then I get disappointed when I play like Oblivion. Like, oh, this is like so normal. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that it's just because Morrowind is like different from everything else.
Yeah, and parts of Morrowind aren't even that way. I mean, Vvardenfell is really...
Yeah. Well, then I was saying, like, oh, Oblivion sold out because they're all different and stuff. And then people were like, no, actually, if you look at the old Elder Scrolls games, they're all, like, really basic. Morrowind's the only thing that was that crazy. I'm like, okay. But I kind of like that. I think fantasy is too much like other fantasy. Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of cool when they do make it a little bit more alien and different. Because I've seen the same fucking fantasy, the castle and the royal king and the queen and this kind of...
It's always interesting to me when you don't use a monarchy in any kind of fantasy game. That's really cool to me because it's so easy to do.
Yeah, it's something different. Is there any game that you feel like has the best story or the best lore or anything, Matt?
Fallout was a big one to me. But I was just at a point to where I could invest a lot of time in that game, and that was really cool. It was like... I don't know that I would say they had the best story because it's just a lot of chaos everywhere, and I like the whole idea of just chaos everywhere.
But I mean, do you think before we move forward with talking about that? Yeah. Do you think that it's a circumstantial thing? That's the reason that you're really investing in it, or do you actually think that would have attracted you even if you couldn't have spent that amount of time playing there? Because I mean,
it kind of reminds me of Mad Max type stuff, and I like that.
Post-apocalyptic, ultimate. Yeah,
that stuff really attracts me. I like that kind of stuff.
He likes that more than like the fantasy stuff.
Which, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of alternate history as well. I mean, that's something.
That's why I like Vampire Hunter D because it's both at the same time. It's post-apocalyptic with the whole sci-fi monsters and mystical stuff, and futuristic with sci-fi. All at the same time.
I like the whole idea of kind of mixing it together because then you could have there'd be some people, if they're like dirt poor, it looks like way back in history, then you can go 50 miles east, and all of a sudden you run into these people that have high technology that's beyond Egypt. What we have now. So what the fuck?
Or Rome.
Yeah, or Rome. Or Paris during the freaking rise of the empire.
Mud huts. Parisian? Is that Paris? Is that somebody from Paris?
Parisian?
Yeah, I hear Parisian all the time.
I don't know.
Is it somebody
from
that
Paris? Term. It could be. I don't know that term. So.
Okay. Well, sure. Okay. There's some games you like them so much you think they have good lore sometimes. Like I liked Ninja Gaiden so much. Like I actually liked the story. It was like for Xbox. I was like, man, I wish I had more story to this and stuff. I know it's so basic and dumb. People complain about the story, but I like that. I love that game so much. Any little piece of story I got, I wanted to know more about it.
You know what I got tricked into there? The same kind of circumstance was the original Dragon Age story with the Grey Wardens and the Archdemon and all that kind of stuff. Because it seemed like, man, that is going to be a great environment to put games in and a great environment to get stories from. Yeah. And then with the next two, the Grey Wardens are an afterthought, and that was the most interesting part of that for me.
Yeah, well, you think
and the blight and all that kind of stuff.
You think you have a game called Origins, you think, oh shit, they got so much shit ready to go. This is just the origin. Like, oh, actually no, we're just gonna abandon it and go do some other shit.
Mm-hmm. It was very frustrating because, like I said, I mean, the entire Grey Warden idea is really interesting to me.
I forgot what is a Grey Warden.
They're the guardians who actually stop the blight anytime there's a blight, and the blight is something that got started because people wanted to actually become gods, and they opened up whatever. I can't even remember the rest of the lore because I didn't keep playing the games.
Did you beat it like one time, Dragon Age?
Dragon Age 1 I beat a couple times. I probably beat it 2 or 3.
It's your wife's favorite game, right?
Yeah, she really did like Dragon Age 1. She likes Skyrim as well, but
she likes Mass Effect.
She likes watching Mass Effect.
Oh, okay.
I think her and Morgan actually had the same, attraction to it. Morgan?
The character from Dragon Age?
No, not the character from Dragon Age. Our friend's wife, Morgan.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah,
wife.
Nick's
okay.
wife.
I thought you were talking about Morgan.
No, not.
If you're watching anything like Morgan from Dragon Age, you need to
Yeah, I need to leave now.
And I actually went after her because for some reason at that time in my life I liked girls who were like hard to get or something. So I went after her instead of like the girl with the red hair who actually would have been a much better choice, I guess. Whatever her name was, she was like a bard or something.
Liliana.
Yeah, is that who you picked?
Actually, no. I don't even think I did a romantic character in that one.
In either playthrough?
No, not on Dragon Age.
So
that character wasn't that style character for me.
See, Mass Effect, it's hard to pick between the women you want, and then in Dragon Age, like I don't really like anybody.
Yeah, but in Mass Effect, you can build your character to fit into however if you kind of have that more human elitist, you have Ashley Williams in the first game. If you kind of want to branch out,
it sounds like somebody you'd be related to, like an Ashley Williams.
I probably am related to an Ashley Williams.
Yeah, it's not a hard.
It's really hard for me to date someone named Ashley.
If you could be related to somebody named Rosalinda Williams or Jade Williams, I think Ashley Williams isn't like a far fetch.
No, I'm sitting here trying to think if there's any game I've invested in. Like, it has good lore. That I know it's like, man, as much as I've gamed in my past, I can't think of one.
Matt plays like the simplest games.
Yeah, but it comes into what you like and what you want to get from the game. Because there are games that I know are great games that I don't have any interest in playing because it's not what I'm interested in. I mean, I know that there's great first-person shooters out there that I haven't. It's just not for me. I mean, like the Titanfall series seems to be a really good game. There's zero story there for me.
You have to have story for a game.
I do personally. I mean, not always.
So
I mean, I play sports games.
You want to play Mario Kart?
No, I'll play Mario Kart,
okay.
but that's in a friendly. We'll all get together and play Mario Kart. I'm not playing Mario Kart online. I'm not saying I won't play a first-person shooter either. I mean, I've played those, but as far as I want to get invested or really spend time in something, there has to be some type of attraction with story there for me.
I think I do like how it was in Fallout and Doom. It's like you had a little bit of story, but then there's a lot of cool stuff around.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the typical way for games, though.
But that's kind of what we're talking about here. Is that you don't necessarily have to have the greatest story if you have a decent story and good lore and decent gameplay. You're going to be okay. Good lore. Or if you have a great story and your lore is kind of lacking, but it's because it's basic, because it hasn't been developed yet, I'm fine with that too, because you told a really good story and the way you told it was done really well.
Like in some game, like either Fallout or Doom, I'll go up to an area and there's this staircase you go up and it's lit up. You got these green flames. You're in hell or Mars or wherever the fuck you are. This is Doom. You don't know what the fuck's going on.
Right.
And like, you just get done slaughtering a bunch of shitty, crazy demons. You go to the top and there's like dead body sacrifice, split apart rib cages everywhere. Like, what the fuck was this for? It's just so crazy and bizarre.
And what's so funny is like the guy doing that might think, oh, this looks pretty cool, but then like you in your idea, you might be trying to like
attach meaning to it.
Makes you kind of sense.
You're trying to make it like a literal sense. It's like, oh god, why would this happen? Why would they do it? It's like,
that's what I like.
But that's the whole point. I mean, that's the same approach that any historian would take if they came across something like that. What was the point?
Like Matt's playing Symphony of the Night, and like you'll go through these castles, and there's like, in the background you might see some things shaking behind some prison doors and stuff. And somebody's like, oh, that would be cool to do that. And Matt's thinking, who are they? Why were they locked behind it? How long have they been there? Do they live their whole life doing that?
Did they really do something to deserve
this many monsters inside of a castle just roaming around. So isn't this the craziest thing ever? No, just try to give you some enemies to fight. But if you take it in that sense, sometimes you could make things seem cooler than they are, And speaking of lore, I can't believe this is something we haven't really brought up, but I don't know if you even played these games, but Dark Souls?
Yeah.
You played them?
I played, no, not Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls. Yeah, I did play that one.
Did you beat it?
No, I've not beat it.
I gave up on it.
I don't want to put in that kind of time.
My question was, how many times have you asked somebody that question, and how many times did you get the answer yes?
Yes? Did they beat it?
Yeah. What's the percentage you think?
Well, with you guys, I'd say I've asked about 10 people, and 8 out of 10 have said yes, and you two are the only two who haven't. So I'd say 80% success.
I thought you said Jacob said no. Marcus said no.
No, Jacob's beat it. He's beat it multiple times.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get that invested in it because, and it probably goes back to the story part of it. It just doesn't.
The story is insane. It is great. Like if you can get beyond the way the world works with like the First Flame, it's like one of the most tragic. Like even the bosses. I just saw it again. There it is a rat.
You see it right now? I just saw it too.
I saw it. Yeah, it's right over here. Easy with that. Yeah, he's not over there. He went somewhere else.
He may have gone into the living room.
Okay. Well, now I know that I'm not going crazy.
Okay.
John Daniel's got to leave. He's all right.
I'm out of here.
No, like Dark Souls. So like every boss you fight, it's almost like you feel sad for them because you know their story, and a lot of people made some crazy decisions, kind of like that Jade Empire ending. Yeah. Because like, let's say the first flame is dying, and the flames will create life, and everything is dying out. So the natural order of things in the cycle is just for it to let it go out, and everybody dies and disappears or whatever. But this guy sacrifices himself in the flame. But in a way, it's keeping like a false flame going, and things get altered, and people are dying and undead and going crazy, and he's kind of fucked himself up, and all these weird alliances. Like, it's like you'll come by and there's like these snake women things, and they're like crying. You go down there and you've killed a couple of them. They play this music thing for them to come attack you. Well, then you read in the lore, it's like these things used to be the queen's maidens that Seath the Scaleless, which is this dragon that betrayed the other dragons because he wasn't born with the scales of eternal life, and he's obsessed with eternal life, and he's blind too. But he has all these library books trying to study and stuff, and he's doing studies of like combining dragon DNA with humans, and he did that with those women that there's chancellors that are creepy looking, kidnapped, and that's them, and that's why they're actually crying when you get to the bottom, and the reason they were attacking is because they played that music for you to attack when you get over there, and that's just like a tiny part of the story you would never know unless you read into the item descriptions that give you lore and stuff, and it never tells you any story. You don't know anything.
Maybe that's why I never got into it, because that wasn't an approach I was used to.
Yeah, and it doesn't tell you anything. You have to find the story for yourself, and a lot of it isn't like 100%. There's a lot of debate, and you got to watch YouTube videos and YouTube videos. I mean, the company From Software was going to pay somebody like, I forgot how much money if you could explain the story to them. That's the way the story works in that game.
Wow.
And it's got so much crazy stuff in there like that. Like you'll have like, you can summon like a AI guy to come help you fight a boss. Yeah. You know, like a summon thing. And then anytime you find a character's set of armor and stuff, like where they died. So I'm trying to get to this castle thing and it's locked. And I go over there and I see Iron Tarkus's armor. Well, it turns out like, even though you might cross paths with somebody, like there's multiple, like time works weird. So even though you were here with him right here, he already died in the future, but right here he's always present. But if you get to where he is right here, he's already died, you know. And the reason he died is Black Iron Tarkus was a badass warrior. He helped you kill that boss. But when you get up to this part, you had to go over the chandeliers, and you see where the glass is already broken because Iron Tarkus got there before you did. And that's why you're following, because he found a way to get past this part because the locked gate. So you're going that way too. But where you failed and where he failed and you succeeded is walking across these chandeliers because his armor was so heavy he fell off and died. And that you could find his body, you take his corpse, you can get his armor and stuff. So there's so much depth between the bosses, the whole story, all the characters, NPCs, and the items and everything. You can find so much. So you find dozens of videos going on with the lore in the game.
You got some badass music too.
Yeah, the music is really haunting. So it's got a really dark thing to it. Yeah. Elder Scrolls has got more of like just a world like Lord of the Rings. It's got every type of thing in it.
Yeah. Elder Scrolls lends itself to vague storytelling.
Well, Dark Souls even more.
Good. Maybe I need to put more time into it then.
No, you definitely do. I mean,
as far as a game, I definitely appreciate it. I love what they tried to do with it. I just wasn't at a point in my life where I could do that.
Yeah, well, this was like, Oblivion was the best Elder Scrolls. Like, no, you were in college during Oblivion.
Yeah,
I was in college with Oblivion and Morrowind, but I know Skyrim is better than Oblivion. I don't know, dude. I think Morrowind was like the best, but when I go back and I played it, and then I played Oblivion, it's like, man, Oblivion's a lot easier to sit down and play. And when you got like jobs and all kinds of shit you're doing, sometimes it's better just to have a simple kind of Skyrim or Oblivion kind of gameplay.
Well, games get undervalued or underappreciated because they're too complex. I probably fell into that with Dark Souls. I mean, it's the same thing with Morrowind. I mean, you reach a certain point where...
Yeah, it gets too complex for me.
Yeah,
and some people, their minds work that way. They like the complex stuff. They like to tweak and mess with all that shit.
Which was great when I could do it for me personally. Yeah. But
it's too much for me and it scares me. It's just like when I first started like filming and stuff and doing all this technical stuff. I got intimidated by this camera with all these options and stuff. Mm-hmm. And if it weren't for like YouTube videos explaining it, I would never get anywhere with it.
And you didn't have that back then.
And what helps me is I like to play with something simpler first, because once I learn all the tools and I'm actually frustrated with the limitations, that's when I like to jump up to something better, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, when you reach a point where you feel like that you know it well enough to have issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think turns off a lot of people with fighting games, because before Street Fighter 2 was like, you got like 8 characters, each one's got like 2 or 3 moves.
Yeah.
And that's it. You hold back for block. And now games are like, you got your normal move, you got your EX move, you got your combo breakers, you got your super ultra moves, you got your finishing moves, you got your parries, you got your blocks, you got your overheads, your ducks, you got your guard impacts, your breaks. It's got all this shit to where somebody's like, dude, I don't even know what to do now.
Yeah.
Like, fighting games are...
How do I punch?
Killer Instinct, that game... if you try to go from one character to another character, they're completely different. Like, some guy explained it to me, and he's like, Mugen. It's like you took a character from Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom. You had all these different characters. They all play so different, so it gets really complex. So that gets intimidating for a lot of people, too.
Well, a lot of fighting games get that way, but this because also, you have a fighting game community that is very devout to that particular genre, and it's not the community, but the game itself doesn't lend itself to new players learning and becoming better.
Well, like Street Fighter 5, while it did try to make itself simpler for people to pull off and execute combos and stuff, it is completely dedicated to the hardcore fighting game community. It's not for casuals. Whereas Mortal Kombat is more for casuals, and they made a lot more money. Yeah. Like, it's one of the biggest selling games of all time. But the thing about that is, the weird thing about story and lore for fighting games is no matter what, they always have like 1 or 2 characters they say is the most powerful fighter. Yeah. So it kind of makes all these other characters seem like just a bunch of fucking jabronis, you know?
Jabroni.
Yeah, it's just like, as much as you may like Blanca or Dhalsim.
Yeah, they're never going to be considered, yeah.
They're just like the backward, like E Honda. It's just like...
Oh yeah, his character in the movie was amazing.
Oh yeah. 'Cause we're brothers, ha 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 ha. But they're all like, they're all fucking, like, in the story, E Honda is never going to mean shit. No. But in the game, he might be like the best fighter or something. So that's what kind of fucks up the story. I hate when they make everybody like just one guy. I feel like if you make a story for a fighting game, you should make it where any of the characters can win. Like, they should all seem like they're all like the top level badasses, Like, you should take...
But it's hard to write a story that way. I mean, that's not the way... I'm not going to say it's not the way the story works, but
I feel like you can do it that way.
It would be difficult. It would be very difficult.
I feel like you can do it, I just don't do it like Mortal Kombat, where if you're a bad guy, you lose every fight.
Yeah, that's...
Do you remember that? It's just like, man, do not be evil. You will never win a fight. Unless you're Sindel. You'll kill everybody.
Kill everybody, yeah. Or Shao Kahn, who,
Isn't that weird about the Mortal Kombat stories? Like, all these people are going to die in your story, right? And what better... excuse for them to die than to have them die in an actual Mortal Kombat match and get finished. Yet nobody but like Sub-Zero ever died in an actual Mortal Kombat match in the story. Yeah. Like, it's like they all die like a random like Sindel attack or some other or like Jax loses his arms, but it's not even in a Mortal Kombat official match. In the Mortal Kombat X, there's no Mortal Kombat tournament in the entire thing. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat tournament's completely gone.
Yeah, so I think that kind of fucked up their story also.
I don't know, the whole tournament thing it's not really even a tournament, but
it's a documentary thing.
Yeah. I mean, you're fighting. Okay, this is our worst fighter. Okay, you beat him. Now this is our next best fighter. And then when you get to the top, Goro's made it all the way here. Well, did Goro beat anybody?
What's really weird about
who the fuck's Goro been fighting this whole time?
What
jabroni has been getting?
What's really weird about the Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and all these tournaments is like you're having like an official tournament where these people fight. Nobody's watching. They all fight in like a random park or something. Like, who's watching this match?
Beside a Buddha statue that fell over, that's where they're actually fighting.
Brock Lesnar versus, Gonzaga. Yeah, where's it taking place? They're just going to do it somewhere out in the desert. So
the farmer's
yard. We're going to take their word for it who won the fight. It's like Sagat.
Whoever calls in first.
Because as much as like the Street Fighter anime.
No, remember in the fight, if they fight each other, like somebody's supposed to die.
Well, in Mortal Kombat, yes.
Yeah, well, then but like Street Fighter, it's like, as much as I like that Street Fighter anime, I love that opening between Sagat and Ryu in that field in the dark. But why would you do that for like a final match? It's like, guys,
he had to get a scar.
I know this is the championship match of the first Street Fighter tournament, but let's respect these guys and let them do it on their own. It's an honorable thing to do.
Leave
How
him
was
out
the
there.
fight? Oh, I kicked his ass. Not what I heard. Ryu said he got a couple of good punches in there. Like that.
Oh, man.
So that's what kind of fucks up that whole like.
It's a deer camp fight story. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's like. Maybe they should do fights like that.
Yeah,
like,
man.
So if you go in to get in a fight, nobody can like take it their way. Like even if you lose, you're like, all right, I kicked your ass, but I'll tell them you got a couple of good punches. So everybody wins,
Yeah, that's that storytelling you were talking about, where nobody's just the weakest guy.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's how you do it. So that's why fighting games are always going to have a problem, because they have a bunch of characters, and they can only fit in like 1 or 2 people for the best fighters.
Yeah.
And then it's just weird about how the fights go. And then there's always a tournament, but then it never explains like who was winning in this tournament, who was losing. You had to fight your friends in a couple of these matches too. And then
somehow all the good guys won every match, but they never fought each other.
And one thing Mortal Kombat's actually got is at least it tells you who won the last tournament. Street Fighter's never told you who won last year. It's just like, what? Like why is a bullfighter like fighting into a tournament with claws? Why is he allowed? And why is Balrog, a boxer, turned into an assassin? And then how's like I don't know how any of this stuff's going, but it's just kind of weird. Mortal Kombat, it's easy to keep up who won. Who won part 1? Liu Kang. Who won the second one? Liu Kang. Who won the third one? Liu Kang. All right.
I kind of see a pattern here.
I'm kind of understanding who's winning.
Then you got on Deadly Alliance and all that kind of stuff, and then it's not tournaments anymore. So.
Well, no, it stopped after part 2.
Yeah.
Part 3 was just an invasion, and part 4, maybe part 4 was, I don't know. People don't really give a shit about 4. The timeline changed anyway, so who
Yeah, it
cares?
doesn't matter.
What happened in the original part 2 to Baraka? Was he just killed?
No, he was alive.
Yeah, because he's in ones after that. Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think Baraka died.
He wasn't in part 3 though.
Yeah, but a lot of people weren't in part 3.
Yeah.
Reptile wasn't in it originally. Scorpion wasn't in it. Raiden wasn't in it. Yeah, a bunch of characters didn't make it. That was so weird about part 3. They brought back. They left out all the cool. They left out all the ninjas, and even the one they brought back, they unmasked him. Then they gave us robot ninjas with giant bobbleheads, and no katana. Or
The robot ninja thing was. I think it was a terrible idea that they've managed to save themselves.
Yeah,
from.
I didn't like it at the time.
Yeah.
But it looks cool now.
That's what I'm saying. They've managed to save themselves from it now.
Yeah.
You know? Like it was a terrible decision.
Here's
and then
what
you got Sub-Zero with the tactical vest on, which is amazing.
Or Stryker looks like a fucking. They saved Stryker a lot. Like I was gonna rank him. I would have ranked him at the very bottom of the list until Mortal Kombat 9 came out. I'm like, oh, he's actually okay. Dude.
Yeah, because he fucking has a 1911.
Yeah, he's got his hat on backwards. Looks like he has like a little bit of a gut and stuff. He looks all ugly and shit in the face. Dude, here's what I don't
the
like.
nightstick.
Yeah, dude. Here's what I hate. In every fighting game, they always give you like a Native American character. It's like, why? How come if you're Native American, you had to like look like you were like in the 1800s or something? It's like Nightwolf, Thunder, T-Hawk, or Chief Thunder, or all these guys are always like, what is up with it? Why can't you be a Native American and like be like look like you're?
Because they're prideful, Steve.
Oh,
I don't know. They're just like my people, my. It's like,
I don't know.
why can't they ever have them just drinking a bunch of alcohol?
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding around.
Because that wouldn't be racially insensitive.
Because that would be fighters.
I don't think that game would get published.
Fire water. He like drinks it and spits out fire.
I don't know. It's probably just cosmetic. I mean, I would have to say. I mean, it's got to be.
It is a pretty cool look. The whole mohawk thing, what was that dude from Killer Instinct?
Yeah, Chief Thunder looked cool, but then they didn't bring that look back. They said that was racist, but it's not racist to put a big fucking like feather thing on his head.
Or does he have tomahawks in this one?
Yeah, I was like, why is the mohawk the racist? That's the coolest part about it.
Does he have war paint on?
I mean, if they're saying he's a warrior from that area of the Northeast, then I don't understand
so
why he wouldn't be able to have a mohawk.
Only the mohawk would be.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they made the Rector a female, so I think that was pretty non-sexist. You know.
Non-sexist.
Yeah, Riptor's a woman. They didn't make it Ripta or anything. They let her have a cool name like Riptor. You can have like a cheerleading outfit for.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, they do
that might be a little sexist.
Killer Instinct. Yeah, what the hell's up with that? But Killer Instinct, that's an example of a game. All the characters look cool because they're all just like, like very tropey characters. Like one's like a robot.
Yeah.
One's like a dinosaur.
One's a werewolf.
Yeah, one's a mummy. One's a ninja. So it's easy to make really cool characters. But the overall, like, one's a fire thing, Cinder. One's an ice alien. But they have a little bit of story, but I don't feel like they have enough story to where people care about Killer Instinct enough. It's just like cool, and that's why the characters will never mean as much to people. Plus, there's really only enough room for like 2 games. You got Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. Tekken's in there, but that's like in the 3D genre. You got
and Tekken is also its own thing. I mean, I like Tekken, I really do, but there's too much going on. There's too many possibilities and too many things. And
okay, that brings me to the point right here.
Yeah, to really understand the characters and what they want to do and what they're there for.
That's why I go to that webpage, Fighters Generation. I look about every fighting game character.
It's amazing that website's still around.
You can tell he's not into it as much as he used to. He used to post way more stuff. But
he's put a lot of info on there.
I've been reading that website since like 2002. That's like a 14-year website.
Anybody remember when you used to go to GameFAQs and you'd print off pages and pages of shit that was like just in freaking notepad text? That's all it was.
Here's how OCD I am.
Facts at the top.
Matt makes fun of me this day. I printed off like 200 pages one time. Okay, Fire Pro Wrestling. Yeah. It had all these characters that are American or whatever, or even Japanese and stuff, but they're all under like different names, so you don't get sued. And the game's got like 200 characters in it. I printed off this thing because that's back when not everybody had a computer at their house. Yeah. Definitely didn't have smartphones, like 2003 or 2002.
College up in Tennessee.
I printed off 200 pages that had all the names of what the characters are actually named, so I could go to my Fire Pro Wrestling game and rename them the correct names. It sounds like something you would do.
Something I would definitely do.
I guess
I did that with a soccer game before.
This isn't like UAM where there's only like 2 printers. I guess we probably had about 4 printers, but he occupied 1 printer for his wall.
For it to print off 200 pages.
The woman like running place like, you're printing off a lot of paper. I'm like, yeah.
10 cents a page.
Really important. Yeah. That's why you can just print as much as you want for free. If I go to like Kinko's or something, I print like 5 pages. That'll be $5, like $1 a page. But you want to talk about crazy, stupid lore that I can't stand? Okay. I'll let you go first. What game has the most overrated lore that you can't stand, you hate? It's just convoluted and stupid.
Oh, man. Don't let me go first on that.
What are you going to say, Resident Evil or something? I'll tell you what mine is. And when I tell you mine, you might be like, oh yeah, that's the worst. I'm going to change my answer to yours.
No, I think I know mine, so go ahead.
Mine is Metal Gear Solid.
Damn it!
Yeah,
you took mine.
Okay, I said this on like Facebook or Twitter once. I said, Metal Gear has some of the most extensive, deep storytelling of all time. The bad news is it's fucking retarded.
Yeah.
It is the most contrived. I didn't know you could be contrived and convoluted at the same time. It's like you're forcing really simple bow on the end, wrap it all up at the same time as going out of your way to make it that make any sense. It's like twist on twist on twist. It's like Vince Russo writing wrestling. It's like
Vince Russo takes on Solid Snake.
It's like when a wrestler turns on his teammate so the other team can get the championship belt because he's friends with him. Why would you do that? Or it's like somebody fighting all these guys every week just to be like, oh, I was with them the whole time. It's like, no, you pile drive the guy through a fucking table. Don't tell me it was all a ruse last week.
We saw it.
But that's how Metal Gear Solid 4, he's possessed by Liquid Snake, but he's not. He was acting it out the whole time. It's stupid shit like that. If you're gonna tell me, it's like Metal Gear Solid is like a game where you could tell somebody the twist and it still wouldn't ruin anything for them because
it wouldn't be upset.
Because first of all, it's so many twists within the game. They still probably don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And second of all, it's Metal Gear Solid story, so nobody gives a fuck. It's
great game.
Yeah, that's when you've got off your gameplay so much that people act like they care about the story. But I think the only person who actually likes the story is Hideo Kojima, who's so far up his ass, he thinks it's a good story, he thinks he puts himself in the game, he thinks it's all awesome, he wants to be a Hollywood director, but dude, you're only getting away with this because of your gameplay. You put this in a fucking movie, you are going to be laughed out off into the Sci-Fi Channel, and they may not even like you there.
Yeah.
You can write fucking Sharknado 4 and make it all convoluted over there, but not in Hollywood. Okay, I think my rant's over.
So, well, you took mine there.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I would agree with you, though, on...
Well, the fact that we both had the same idea shows that is the worst.
Yeah. I would agree, though, on the Resident Evil part, though, because I do think that was pretty complicated. I've only played the first 2. That's it. I never played any more after that. I know the stories. That's the problem. The first 2 were fine to me.
And the third one,
Well, I never played the third one, so...
I haven't played it either. But
I know the story to 4, 5, and 6, though. So...
well, okay. I enjoyed the gameplay of 4. I enjoyed the gameplay of 5. And I even enjoyed the gameplay of 6 because you can walk and shoot.
It's amazing.
The only game where you could actually aim and fucking shoot a Resident Evil series. And plus, you can do this thing where you run and slide and you're in the fucking ground. It's like, why did they put that in any Resident Evils before? People, for some reason, love that tank controls. I'm on a forum or a Facebook page where people are like, listen, if you don't like it, you don't have to play those ones. They get really upset and like, there's no use in bitching about it, dude. All right, just get out of here. You know? They get really serious.
Well, that's what the guy who made the Ninja Gaiden games used. He would always give Capcom shit for Resident Evil because he said, "Why do you always have to stand still when you shoot? You just couldn't get over that."
I can't get that either.
Yeah.
So, but then the lore of Resident Evil is, I don't know if it's, I'd say it's one of the worst because I haven't played Metal Gear Solid and you guys are saying that, but like it started out great. 1, 2, and 3 are good. But when what was that one that came out for the Dreamcast?
Code Veronica.
Yeah.
Oh.
It started getting out there because they brought back Wesker, and I thought that was kind of weird. It's like, okay. And then they had this dude being a giant pussy named Steve, and they gave him a faggot voice.
Face off me.
And, then 4, they started doing. They got away from the whole zombie thing.
Yeah.
But the gameplay was so good on that, it saved it.
But then they think.
But that's
they thought the story was so good they should keep doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't. You have to evaluate your game honestly and say, okay, the gameplay in this is what we need to stick with.
Yeah.
But we really fucked up with the story.
They
Sorry for the cuss.
No. I was agreeing
And
with
part 5 was like a continuation. It was like great gameplay, and you made it even better by making it co-op.
Yeah.
That was the first co-op Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But it was still stupid.
I
Very fucking. How does a guy inject himself, become a giant monster the size of like, I don't know, the ship you're in, like 2 times that size, and you're shooting missiles at this thing. Then finally, when you defeat him, he jumps back on your ship and shrinks back into a guy. And he's like, and he's still like talking to you.
it's a Batman Arkham Asylum Joker.
And part 6 is like, I don't know, Michael Bay took over that.
It went from like being really scared and creepy and silent in a house to like
very atmospheric. To
you're shooting shooting like missiles off of like.
Well, that's the greatest thing about the second one to me is just the atmosphere of it. Was just that was one of the first games that I played that a buddy of mine loaned to me, and like I was too scared to play it at night. Like I wouldn't play it in the dark.
Oh yeah, that's how I was with Resident Evil for GameCube.
Yeah, I was like, oh god.
But what's funny is okay, Tomb Raider. They try to like redo the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
With the Lord. I don't know if you played the new ones or the
Yes.
old ones.
Well, I played the first new one. I haven't played the Rise of Tomb Raider
Okay,
yet.
I played both of them, and I played the original Tomb Raider. I loved it. I played the remake of the original, and that's I actually like the remake more than the reboot. Because I love the old one. I love the way they did it and everything. But anyway, so the new one they try to immerse you, but they try to make it very realistic and stuff. Like a realistic character. But there's parts in the game where you will gun down 80 dudes, and you're like fucking little. 18-year-old archaeologists and stuff. So it kind of ruins all the immersion.
Yeah.
Or if it is real, it makes you seem like, how can she go back to doing it? She just slaughtered over 500 dudes. Like, she can't go back to just being a girl and doing archaeology and stuff. Like, you need to realize, you are...
She can't go back to the library.
The most badass person ever. And you're slitting people's necks. You're hitting them in the head with a freaking, pickaxe in the head and, pulling it out and stuff. It's like, you are a cold-blooded mercenary killer.
Isn't she also, swimming through, freezing cold water?
I think that's in the second one, though.
Yeah, the second one.
Because I haven't played that one yet.
Yeah, that's the second one. But it's just kind of weird when you try to make it immersive, but then you try to go back to the old gaming tropes where you just keep mowing down 100 people. If you're going to try to make it immersive like that, make you kill just a few people, but make each one a big deal.
Yeah.
In my eyes, that's how I think they should do it.
Which even in storytelling, I've always less is more to me. If you can make a fantasy, story and world where magic is still a part of it, but it needs to be, and you can make it really gritty and realistic, but it needs to feel that weight. It needs to have that weight when you're doing any kind of magic. I know this is a weird reference, okay, but the way they do magic in Conan the Barbarian or in Red Sonja.
Do you read the books of Conan?
No, I'm talking about
I've read all
the
of them,
original.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Robert E. Howard, I got his whole collection.
Okay, I need to read those.
Yeah.
But if you go and you just watch the I don't even remember if it's Red Sonja or not, but it's the movie where just the little wizard guy, all he's trying to do is open a fucking stone door, and he has to sit there and concentrate forever to get the door to lift.
Yeah.
That's the way you do magic in a realistic setting. Granted, that wasn't realistic,
Well,
but
it's like when I saw Return of the Jedi, when he shoots that lightning, that's the biggest thing you've seen. Of,
yeah,
the Force.
it's huge.
And that was cool, because Luke, you saw him, it helped him jump, it helped him, focus when he threw that rock and stuff like that. That was cool. And then Yoda barely got that old, X-Wing to come out of the swamp.
Yeah.
But then when they're doing that shit with,
Starkiller?
Starkiller, he's making a whole Death Star crash and shit. Fuck that. That's like some fucking nerd. What would be cool? Wouldn't it just be cool? Like the ship just coming down.
Well, that
particular
part of the canon, I'm glad they got rid of. So
yeah. I mean, as much as I guess I understood what Disney had to do, because there was some great canon I love, but there was so much bad shit. I guess they just had to get rid of all that. It's just like when the teacher punishes the whole class, and there were some good students.
Nobody's getting candy.
Nobody's getting. Just like when the drill sergeant's like, nobody gets leave this weekend because Private Pigpen didn't take a shower. So go beat him up with some soap. Go hit him in the nuts real hard with a piece of soap tonight or something. So, and it's a true story. It's a true story. My uncle told me. There's a guy named Private Pigpen. So.
Oh wow. Nice.
In case you just thought it was that funny, it's come straight off the top of my head.
We thought you stole a Peanuts character. That's actually what we thought happened.
Okay, good. I stole something else. I think a game that's storyline fucking ruined it for me was Final Fantasy VIII. Like the gameplay sucked, but the cool look of it was great, and I thought the story was actually pretty cool until they had this stupid contrived. You know the difference between contrived and convoluted, right? Convoluted is like the movie Basic. You ever seen that? Where they come up with all these stupid twists and shit. It doesn't even make any sense.
I've never seen
twist.
Basic.
You'll never see the end coming. Yeah, because the story doesn't make any sense. It's like you just took us to a bunch of unnecessary twists. Like, why would he have done that? They only would have done that just to make this happen. That's convoluted. Contrived is like the prequels to Star Wars, to where they all just nicely read. Like, there was no purpose of Anakin making C-3PO. That was fucking stupid. Why does it all take place within a small group of characters? I like where there's characters coming out from there. You don't even know their backstory. Mm-hmm. So that's contrived. Okay, Final Fantasy VIII did this contrived shit where, it turns out all the characters you've got in the game that have all met, they find out through their past memory they all grew up in the same orphanage together, and this evil woman, used to be their orphanage mother and stuff like that. And I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And it was so stupid. And the reason all these monsters were coming down from the moon from a portal and shit. I was like, what the fuck? It ruined all these cool opening cinemas and scenes and shit. So that's another example of a story kind of fucking the game up for me, you know? The gameplay sucked and the story sucked, and I still played through the whole game.
You know,
maybe that's why I like all these games that don't tell any story.
It's true. You can't get ruined if you're not interested in the story.
Yeah, you just kind of make it up your own.
Yeah, because it is good for open interpretation, because a lot of games, they don't know who are they hiring to make stories. I guess people who are going to write. If you're a good storyteller, you're going to write a book or a screenplay, right?
It sounds like you guys, you'll give a movie a chance. Like, here's the new Star Wars. I don't think it's I don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
No.
But you watched 8 seasons of Hercules, so.
We will watch Hercules together. You shut up, Steve.
No, I love the first season of Hercules. I loved it so much I couldn't take the drastic drop in quality of the second season.
Hey man, the guy was going through some hard stuff.
You watch it jokingly?
Yeah, I didn't watch it Age of Mycete, you talking about the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but you won't watch Xena.
I give it. That was even worse. It was there's too much.
I wish I could do that voice. It'd be amazing.
You can't handle her throwing a chakra that bounces off everything around and kills everything until everything's dead. Then it comes back to her hand.
Oh man, it was. Mars. Not Mars. Oh my God, it's a Roman god. Holy crap! What's the god of war in Greek mythology?
You don't know? Think of God of War. All right, Ares.
Ares, there you go. That's the name. I kept saying Mars.
Oh, God of War, man. That's a game. What do you think about that game story and stuff?
Oh, story? Yeah, it's wonderful.
The guy got really pissed off and he took out all the gods.
This guy got upset and fucking killed all the gods. No, great game, especially the third one to me. Great game. Loved playing those games.
It was annoying because of the freaking. We were watching a scene and you had to press a button. Just in time.
Well, QuickTime Cinegraphics.
Yeah.
It started all that shit that got into every
Well, I
other
mean,
game.
it wasn't the first QuickTime game, but it was QuickTime Cinematics, and that was I had a problem with that. But as far as the game itself, it's really fun. It's really beautiful. It's got some cool things about it. I really enjoyed the game. But yes, on the level of Metal Gear Solid for completely screwed up story and background. And they already had, that's what's even worse. They didn't have to create lore.
Yeah, they just took something already.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. See, that's what's cool about, there's no Disney, as much as it tries to own everything, like, you can't get a trademark on, like, the ancient gods. Well, maybe now with, like, those Hercules movies they made. Like, no, you can't do anything about Hades. We used them in Hercules. Is it kind of funny?
I don't know. That'd be kinda
They
weird
have
to think
trademarks on, like, Cinderella.
Yeah.
And old stories from,
Dude,
like, fucking
Disney,
Germany.
Grimm's
Fairy Tales is now
that's it,
copyrighted
Grimm's.
by fucking Disney and shit. They get their fucking greedy hands on everything.
Hey, man. Big company.
Just make up everything yourself.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, everything. But that's the whole purpose of these stories is to, like, those stories were based off other stories, and everybody turns them into their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's what you gotta do. But, like, the games, like, okay, we talked about, like, some of the worst stories, like, kind of like, what do you think are some, kind of the most overrated, What do you think are some of the most games that have actually a pretty good story or lore, or that nobody else knows, or something you think? So again, the rat making a special guest appearance. Like, that's not the only guest star we had tonight. What do you think is a game that actually has a story that you feel like should get more like respect or talk, or at least that you would like to know more about that they just aren't giving you enough?
Oh, wow. That I would like to know more about.
Like, for me, the things that come to my head is a lot of Nintendo games. Like, I'd like a really good Star Fox story, or a Metroid story, or an F-Zero story.
Yeah.
Or even Mario. For some reason, I just would like more from that. I don't know why.
I don't know how you're going to get any more out of Mario, though. Like, what are you going to get out of Mario?
I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. I think it'd be really cool to make. I think Pixar could really pull off a Mario because they make like the kid-friendly kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like they could make a kind of cool, like, because Mario's like really funny, but it has like kind of like evil bad guy and stuff like that. So I feel like, as much as I don't really like Pixar movies, for some reason I feel like they could do a good Nintendo Mario movie or something. I don't know.
That'd be interesting. I mean, to see them do a movie about it, but I don't necessarily know that they're going to, be able to develop an entire.
Well, I feel like a lot of people would go with Zelda first choice, but I feel like Star Fox, or I think Zelda's too boring. I think Star Fox or Metroid could have a cool PG-13 kind of sci-fi
kind of story to it.
War movie. Yeah, like Metroid would be more isolationist kind of sci-fi.
Yeah.
And then like Star Fox would be more like kind of more action adventure kind of thing. I think it opens up cool. Like you open with like, Star Fox's dad and Peppy and Pigma, and then a whole betrayal and stuff like that. And then Star Fox is in the whole academy, and he finds out his dad dies, and he like drops out and stuff like that. And they run into like, and then maybe him and Peppy, or like Peppy goes and trains him and gets him to start working. And then he runs into Falco, who's in a gang at the time, to get him to join and stuff like that. So I don't know. I came up with kind of cool story stuff for that. For some reason, I don't know why it comes into my mind. Sometimes like things just go to you, and you feel like I don't know why I want to do that. So. But that's an example of something I would want to know more about, like the F-Zero or just the Nintendo stuff. Or when I played Ninja Gaiden, I just wanted to know more about story, but there was no story there.
Right, yeah. That's what's amazing to me, that you said that you really enjoyed the story. I was thinking, what?
It's just like a game when you love the gameplay so much, and the story wasn't bad to where it turned me off. It was neutral. It just wasn't enough for it to be good or bad.
Yeah.
They just kind of left to a lot of interpretation. So that's why I like more of it. If they would have shown more, which I saw in part 2, it just became bad. In part 2 and part 3, they gave us more story, but it sucked. So yeah, I guess I get what I wished for, and it was bad. But it's a long way of me explaining it, but I'm trying to get an idea of like what's a game maybe.
Yeah, but that's hard for me to do, because like we established earlier, I mean, most of the games I play are played for the story. I mean,
so there is no game.
Yeah, the games that I play that don't have story, they don't lend themselves to story.
You don't feel like FIFA could have had a better story?
Yeah, the journey mode this year.
Well, for me, again, it goes back to the games like Doom or Quake.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Well, Symphony of the Night too, but like
Doom would be cool.
But let's say like Quake. If you ever played Quake 4, or any of those Quake, it was like dead bodies, and they take like, okay, so the humans go on their planet and try to fight them off. What they do is they kill the human, drag the corpse, put it on there, and they'll like install all these metal parts and make it part of their army. They'll take a corpse from the opposite team, and now it's part of their team. And you get to see all this crazy shit going on. Then you'll see, you have no idea what the hell's going on. So you're asking so many questions, and you're trying to fill in the blank all the time. So that's what I want to do. I guess I feel like I'm alone on that.
No,
there's not a lot of people that play these games.
They're popular, super popular games.
Yeah.
From back in the day, but not anymore though.
What, Quake?
Yeah, like they're finally going to make another one, but it's mainly for multiplayer.
Well, it's a super popular game. If you ever find that you want something, there's
chances are
there's somebody else out there. And the cool thing about it is when you find a small niche group like that, if you're not trying to if you're not spending huge amounts of money on something, you can usually find a core group of people that are in the same thing, and maybe you can create something off of that, find some true fans,
I'm going to tell you something that this is going to showcase how much I invest in, not necessarily story, but at least background information, is Portal 2, to me, the little part where you go in the old factory and the old stuff with the
I need to play
guy.
that game.
You never played Portal 2? Oh, man.
Or Portal 1.
You never played Portals? Come
I
on,
played
man.
just a little bit of it.
Okay, well, Portal 2, you actually get to listen to the owner of the company that actually was doing all Aperture, that what he was trying to do and everything, and it goes through all their experiments, and you follow it through time as you go up through the ruins. And just that little part made that game so much better for me. Just because it's just that much, little bit more background, a little bit more story, a little bit more, understanding where the characters came from.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that I liked, which is why I think that this particular question is not going to be something I'm going to be able to give you guys an answer to.
You don't want a story to Double Dragon or Battletoads?
Double Dragon.
Or Golden
Hey, I
Axe?
already got a story, Double Dragon. You've seen the movie.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened. They tried to make a story. It was like, what the fuck was that?
Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
They try to make they try to literally try to come
Golden
up
Axe would be a good one, I think.
Golden Axe?
Yeah, I like the brutal,
That's not a bad idea.
I like the brutal setting of Golden Axe and everything like that. Altered Beast, the movie. Rise from your grave.
And what's even worse is some of the ones that I would want expanded on already have a lot of lore. Like, that's how much I'm into them. Like I know that Matt's really into the Fallout 3 thing, and he hasn't actually really put any time into New Vegas yet.
Man, you know how much lore there is, how far Fallout goes back? Like, there's a reason it's called Fallout 3. There's Fallout 2 and 1. There's lots of lore. It's a tabletop fucking game. They got all kinds of shit to that.
I feel like all these little cities got so many different stories. Like, you go to, what was that, Point Lookout, the expansion? Like, that whole thing, I feel like if I just got that, if that was the entire game, that piece of DLC, I would have been satisfied by that.
But you know what? It's like we're so into this lore. You think we'd be like reading way more books because we like this. But it's like only way I can learn is if I'm playing a video game while I'm reading it.
Yeah, but it's also what you, again, going back to how you choose to take in that medium.
Yeah.
Do you want to invest the time in a character and feel that you're a part of it, or do you just want to read it and experience it through one person's eyes?
It's because people say like books make you smart, but it all came down to like a dude telling a fucking story.
Yeah.
That's how stories were always told. You might learn it from like a cave painting or somebody's telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Then writing was something that humans invented a way to tell a story. Maybe that worked really well for some people, but a lot of the time, it's just like you look at all these. For some reason, maybe I'm just an idiot, but when I open a book and I see all these words, all these pages, I'm like, oh, it seems almost like a chore. And so these words. So for a book to really make me like, oh man, I'm glad it has so many pages. I wish I could just read it all over again and more to it. It has to be a really good book because a lot of the times, even with video games, I just want to be done with it and move on. And the Vampire Hunter D books, did you see it?
I don't know.
God, why would you jump there?
I don't know. I heard it.
Because I'm looking this way. I didn't see anything.
Maybe it was just my chair.
Okay, I thought a poltergeist
I'm
got a hold of
jumping.
me or something. Yeah, I noticed. I saw the two Vampire Hunter D movies. I loved them so much. I was like, oh my god, I gotta get these books. And every time I read a book, I love them. There's like 20 of them. They're small enough, like they're novels, but they're not like huge novels like a lot of other books. And I could read them because I love.
It's not War and Peace every time you pick one up.
It's not fucking Tolstoy. So every time I read through this, I'm like, it's exciting. But I like those books. But I'm reading some Stephen King. I just read Dark Tower, and I thought, that's okay. And now I'm reading the second volume, which everybody tells me is the best. Even Felice told me it's the best. I can't stand it. I hate it. I'm just reading it to get done with it so I can go back to reading the books I like.
Yeah.
Like Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft write short stories. Their books are just a bunch of short stories, you know. So those are kind of fun. But see, books, movies, video games.
Yeah, but see, you invest your time differently in books than you do in video games. Because I mean, just like we're talking about here, with if you invest yourself in that character for really long periods of time in a video game, you're not willing to do that in a book, or it doesn't seem like you're willing to do that in a book. So it's how you choose to take in that medium. Because the greatest story, you know, what's your greatest story that you've ever experienced? That is a story in video games.
The Home Improvement video game for Super Nintendo.
Jesus, it was mind blowing.
I would say Mass Effect up until the ending of Part 3. But
okay, so
until the very, very, very end.
Right.
Like all of it good because.
Till you're actually on the Citadel.
Earth, like I love the feeling where you feel like you're not going to win. That's what I hated about Lord of the Rings, because when those ghosts started running there, I felt nothing, because it's like you just pulled a Deus Ex Machina where, you know, I can't give you anything because I don't feel like you're going to lose at all. I feel like you're just dominating, kicking ass. Whereas the first Lord of the Rings movie, they were up against everything. They barely survived. 2 people died. Gandalf seemingly died. Boromir died.
Well, you knew Sean Bean was going to die.
Not at that time. I didn't. That's when Sean Bean cemented his legacy, and I hadn't seen Equilibrium yet.
Oh.
And then Game of Thrones hadn't come out yet either. So, but that's what I like about Mass Effect. Like you go in there, Earth's getting fucking destroyed. I mean, it's impossible enough to kill one Reaper, let alone all these Reapers on Earth. Then you're running down there with your friends in the tanks and stuff, and they're all getting blown away. Bam, bam, bam. It's all shaky. You finally make it to the fucking thing, and then you still get blasted. And then you're crawling. You get past Marauder shields.
Who tried to save you.
And you get up that portal. And then it's like the guy that you talk to, this crazy ancient relic thing you're trying to put together, where they don't even believe it, but it's like their only hope and stuff. You know, and this guy's putting this back to you to make this thing work. And it still seems like it's not going to work. And there's this been cycle of everybody finding one piece by piece, till eventually, like maybe 8 cycles later, they can finally have all the pieces together and finally defeat the Reapers. And you're there, and the elusive man and everything, and you kill them, and you're barely there to survive and finally see it happen. And then that little boy comes by and it ruins the whole fucking thing. Everything, all these games, it just took me to a whole nother world. And that's what they do. They take you to a whole nother world. I'm over here in shitty Warren, Arkansas, up there living with my grandparents at 26, and I'm trying to make this movie thing. I'm teaching, which you know sucks. And this game transports me to another world. It's the best feeling ever. And I hate that they did that because I love Mass Effect and what it did to me. And that's my long answer for what game did the most to me. I don't know if Mass Effect's the same answer for you.
Oh, Mass Effect definitely is. But the point of me asking you that, I still like your statement there. But the point of me asking you that was, okay, so take the first hour of Mass Effect and put it in a book. Would you have kept reading that book if it wasn't suggested to you as this is going to be amazing? The first hour.
Yeah. Usually, I don't give up on books that easy and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, some.
But do you see what I'm getting at though? I mean, you see my point.
I know. Some books. I mean, some things look better visually. You know, because visually you can see a million things going on, and it's stimulating. In a book, it's a bunch of adjectives one after another, and it's just like I can't keep up. There's too much descriptions. Get to the point.
But it's also, I mean, you when you're on the actual Normandy for the very first scene, that's going to be a dreary first chapter. Just introduction, and this is this guy, and yes, I've seen battle, and I want to get to battle. How do you think, Commander Shepard? And Dr. Chakwas telling you that don't want to go to battle and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I mean, sometimes I don't know about you, like people I like books because they can make up the way the characters look, but I'm like, no, sometimes I like the artist to draw it out because I'm too dumb to think of how it's supposed to look sometimes. I'm like, and I'm like, oh, that's
either way. Sometimes it's way cooler than I can imagine. And other times I see a character and I'm like, that is terrible.
Yeah.
I want to imagine them differently.
Yeah. Well, then RPGs is when they have the text for the character. I have this cool voice for the person that makes sense, and then I'll see the voiceover and they make it terrible. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm like, oh, you ruined the character. Go back to a text voice or something, you know.
Or just no voice actor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No voice actor, just have the text voice and stuff. So that's how it is for me. But
text adventures.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a little bit before my time. I don't know about you. So.
Yeah, well, I had a little bit of that adventure, but it was few and far between. I don't know. Laura doesn't really seem to do much from that, but just for us. I guess we'll wrap it up since we've been doing this for about 2 hours. But yeah, it's 1 hour 40 minutes right now. So lore for us is greatest. The worst story is
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid, and the best is Mass Effect. So it wasn't really much of a debate. We both
Take that
pretty
with
much
you.
agreed on that.
Yeah.
I don't think we really disagreed on anything about like worst or best lore on here. I didn't have to argue. No, I'm telling you right now, it's great.
No.
Both pretty much agreed on all this stuff. And Matt likes gameplay over story. And you're the exact opposite.
I like atmosphere, though. I like atmosphere. Because I'm telling you, Resident Evil, as good as they made the whole gameplay and everything, it's still... I haven't played Part 6 through again.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's true
But
because...
it's the same.
I was going to say, like, Street Fighter, I don't like it as much. I know the gameplay's the best. I know the story kind of sucks, but I don't like the way they took the atmosphere in that. It's too goofy now. Like, I know Nick was telling me, oh, Street Fighter's always been goofy, 2 and 3. It's like, but 3 wasn't that goofy. It was a little bit more kind of like a little bit more like kind of like a... Not goofy, I'm not going to say serious. It was just something else. I don't know what it was, but Street Fighter 4... Or in Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4, you got El Forte jumping around with a frying pan and stuff. You got freaking Rufus, just him all in general. You got
It's got the
Hakan.
big Borderlands look to it too.
Yeah,
That
and then
I like,
yeah, exactly. It's running around again. And then Street Fighter 5, it's like there he goes. It's in the pantry. Street Fighter 5, it's got like Birdie, he's running around with a donut and stuff and all this stupid stuff. So I don't know. It just kind of like pushes it away from me, Like, is there any game where like just the atmosphere pushes you away?
the atmosphere. Well, I don't like any kind of horror games anyway, but I don't like horror anything, which is why the suspense thing of Resident Evil was really cool to me, because I experienced that young enough where I hadn't made up my mind of, okay, I'm just not into this,
So no Silent Hill for you?
No, I never actually played Silent Hill. Not a single game.
I always wanted to, I just never did.
Yeah, I never played Silent Hill. And then, that's half the...
I still need to play Dead Space. Also, I heard a lot.
Dead Space is good. Dead Space is atmosphere. For you, Dead Space would be amazing.
What about BioShock?
But
I never played that.
BioShock never. I know that's gonna be weird because I like the background and what all happened and all that kind of stuff, but it's not. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like
good
it.
shit about it too. Like there's so many awards for BioShock.
Yeah.
The Big Daddies.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's like I tried it like twice, but I couldn't. I'm gonna try it one more time, but like if I can get into this, I'm sorry.
Well, not, and this is not a knock at BioShock at all, but I'm just saying this in general. Like, I really am all for story and lore, but at the same time, there does have to be competent gameplay there. Like, it's really hard for me to go back and play a buggy game. It's also even hard for me now. I've become so spoiled with newer stuff that it's hard for me to go back and play. Like, I really want to go back and play Daggerfall because I love the Elder Scrolls series. But going back, even when I went back and played Arena, it was a freaking chore to play Arena. And I know it's going to be the same thing when I go back and play Daggerfall because it's so outdated,
Yeah.
The actual, just the visuals of it. And even though it's competent gameplay and it's, it's the world that I love and the lore that I love, it's going to be so hard
Would
to
you
go back
play
and
a
play
horror game if it had really good lore? I'm thinking of a new genre like Lorer.
Lore?
Yeah, would you play a game with really good lore if it's a horror game?
I could.
I don't know.
But some of these horror games are like a lot more action based now. Like
Yeah.
Dead Island or Dying Light. Yeah.
Well, everything's going more action. It's hard to find a real
Yeah.
real RPG anymore.
Elder Scrolls has turned into way more action RPG than ever.
When I first played Morrowind, I was like, dude, it looks fucking cool. This fighting is horrible.
Well, there's a reason that's the only game with that type. They were going for like a dice feel where like you roll the dice and you can hit them or not, and you really love those your dice. But if they at least made it where the enemies were like dodging, like enemies when they're dodging instead of you just stabbing right through them, it would have been a lot better.
Oh, the archery, marksman or whatever. I think it was marksman. It's marksman, right? Yeah. Oh my God, you couldn't use a bow and more wind unless you
crossbow or ninja. They had ninja stars, shurikens, all that stuff.
You had to really, really, really put in time and die a lot.
Oh, this is a question I want to ask you real quick. What do you think about the lore where you're like the main ultimate hero brought back? Do you like that kind of stuff, or would you rather be just like you're a regular guy and maybe you're the person that takes it up, or maybe not, but you're not the person? Don't you? Do you like it where you're like the
God, the born again person to bring everything back. You know, or do you like it where it's just you're just a dude, and it could happen.
Well, Half-Life already did something like that with the original Half-Life. They had the dude Gordon, who's who you are in Half-Life, but then he also had another one where it's a blue shift, and you're one of the security guards, I guess, who survived. I never played it, but then he also had a third one where you're like this guy that goes in there and invades, and you try to kill all the survivors. Which I thought it's 3 different points of the story. Which I said something about that earlier. I didn't think about that though. I just never. I
never played those other 2. That's interesting.
So that's where you got the idea for the 2.
No, I didn't think about that. I just
you ripped it off of Half-Life.
Stole it. No, I think both would work. I mean, the
opposite work. Which one do you like better?
I kind of like the chosen, not the chosen one, but just the guy who has the skills to do it. I mean, this is the person. Okay. It's not really the chosen one, like we're talking about the Dragonborn thing, okay? We're going to use our most recent game, like the Dragonborn thing. Yeah. You are destined to do this. Whereas, let's go to Mass Effect. Yes, you're the first human Spectre, but it's because you're talented, and the reason that you're leading all this against the Reapers is because you've just been involved in it. It has nothing to do with you're destined to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's circumstantial. You came across Saren on your very first thing, and here we go, just the way it works. And I like that. I enjoy that even more. But it gives you more conflict that way because you have doubt. You have people who don't think that they doubt your abilities. Whereas if you're the chosen one, it makes it a lot more complicated for people to say that you can't do it or to say that, you're not the one who's supposed to be able to do this. So I would agree that it would probably be the kind of the everyman kind of thing, but not really everyman. I'm not into that either. Because I don't want to feel like every man when I'm playing a video game. That's not the point. I can feel like every man when I'm out at work every day.
Yeah, but you can feel like you're every man with a bunch of high elves and wood elves and orcs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No.
Salty winches.
Yeah, salty winches. I don't know. I kind of like a hodgepodge between. I like how you're like a badass within that thing, but I don't like the whole Superman. You're just like the greatest thing. I like you to have flaws and things where like there's actually like kind of a threat to your character and stuff. And
flawless character is never a good thing, but at the same time, I like the idea of being able to control that. Like, does my character have quote unquote character flaws? Like, does he have issues that he's dealing with? Does he choose to do things wrong?
Is he a wallflower at parties?
Yeah, I mean, what does he do? Does he have a weak spot for the ladies?
I talked to a dude who plays Mortal Kombat. He said when he plays Mortal Kombat, every single match is a story with this. Like, if he plays Sub-Zero, he'll never kill his opponent, never do a fatality. And if he's fighting like another good guy, he thinks in his head that this is like an evil clone version or something like that. And then if he's like using like Sector or Cyrax, then he'll always do fatalities and kills. So that's how immersive he is with his game playing.
Nice. Well, I like that. I like people that go in and make that. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily for the fighting game. I don't.
That's how serious he takes it.
So he'll never let Johnny Cage do a fatality on Cassie.
Well, that'd be good. Does Cassie
He's never going to hear Johnny between her tits and shit like that. So I don't know what. We'll end this with.
There are people that do that with sports games too.
Really?
Sorry, I messed up your ending there. But yeah, there are people that do that with their careers, especially like FIFA's a really big thing right now. Like you set up your manager and you play the games and you.
Well, when I was
this is what's going on. We're going to try to get this guy next year.
Well, I was telling Matt about how OCD I am. WCW, NWO Revenge.
Yeah.
Every time like the championship belt would change hands, I would get that character and I'd go through the whole career thing and change the belt and thing. And it really sucked because Kidman and Juventud were really going back and forth.
And you kept having to do it.
Oh my god, how many times do I got to beat this thing over again? I don't even really like Kidman. It's like a shooting star press and that's it. So yeah, I'm really into that too. But it's like we're leaving right now. What is something that you would like people to do more with story or lore, John Daniel?
That I would like for them to do, like
what is something you feel like is missing or they've been messing up with a lot, or something you feel like they could really like focus on or work on?
As far as lore goes, leave more openings. Leave space for things to be created. Yeah. Leave room for development for future use, whether it be by the community or for developers.
Basically, the games I'm most interested in.
Do what? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Souls. Dark Souls is really open interpretation.
Right, but I mean, leave more to have not only more content, but more space.
But it is better that way because people love to debate what they think and stuff. And what about the whole Mass Effect, indoctrination theory? They should do a lot of stuff like that.
Be the greatest marketing ever if they just said, you know what, we're not going to make it.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, Mass Effect 3 either has the worst ending of all time or it has the best ending of all time. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I'm hoping for the latter, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you think?
Like more points of view, like
yeah,
like we were saying earlier, like Hitler didn't think he was a bad guy. He thought he was doing justice to the world.
Yeah, all of them, no matter what. It's something I like more with story and stuff like that. I hate the overall, like, this guy is a huge evil guy and stuff like that. I hate that, and I hate the ultra, like, you're the, the chosen one kind of stuff like that. So I like where, like, an ending could happen. I like multiple endings. I want, like, Chrono Trigger, 16 different ending kind of things, where you can just do this last thing and it changes everything. Oh, I'm born again, good guy at the end. I atoned for my sins. I like to change that. What games are you playing now, John Daniel, or are you looking forward to playing? Because I know it's going to be lore involved, so this will be a lore.
I'm not going to say that it's a Mass Effect game. I'm going to say it's a Mass Effect game in the Mass Effect universe. But
Andromeda?
I am looking forward to playing Andromeda.
When's that coming out?
Next year.
What are you playing now?
I'm playing Skyrim now. I'm actually going back playing Skyrim and Mass Effect 2 right now.
You hear that, developers? This is how bad your story and lore is, that he's had to go back to really ancient games. Matt, what about you? What are you playing? What are you looking forward to playing?
I keep getting back. I have my battles with Dark Souls. It beats me up, and I retreat for a while, and then I come back into it, and I beat a boss after 40 losses.
Dude, he's been playing Dark Souls since like 2011.
He's on the bridge.
Dude, I've never heard of anything like this in my life. There's guys who can beat that game in like 6 minutes, like on like YouTube. You can watch a beat in 6 minutes.
But who are the people that can do this? People who have nothing else
to do. Well, Steve.
Yeah, I'm that added this time.
And I'm about to immerse myself into the new Doom game that I haven't even touched yet.
Okay. I'm playing Skyrim and Elder Scrolls Online, so I'm fully up with the lore. And I played a little bit of Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Killer Instinct. So the fighting games and that's I don't even have enough for all that. I wish I had more time. I don't know. When you play games, it's like, I can't wait to go home and play these games, but they're not as fun as you when you're a kid. For some reason, it's just, I don't know. Games sound more fun than they are when you play them. But that's why I like the story more, because it has to be like completely really good gameplay where you just lose yourself in it, or it has to have like some story that really does something. You can't fail on one of those two. And then with the story talk we've done tonight, I'm just gonna end it with this. Has this like opened your mind or changed your mind? Like, maybe I should try this out, or maybe I should try that out now that you've heard about something.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Dark Souls, and Matt just brought up a few things that I'd like to think about. His main point there at the end was different outcomes, different paths, and I just would like to explore that, even in my own personal stuff as far as like modding and things like that.
Yeah, you did that with Elder Scrolls. You can do Storm Cloaks or Imperials.
Right. Kind of narrow, but yeah.
Yeah. Or just like, you hated that in Skyrim where you had to kill Parthenax, then they made a mod where you don't have to do it. So that's something that would be cool for you to do a lot with things,
Yeah.
I just need to start finishing games.
Every game we listed, you said, I played like 2 hours.
This dude has like 9 games. He's like, this game's awesome. I love it. It's like, when's the last time you played it? Oh, like 8 months ago. I'm like, what? I've just been busy. I'm like, For me, I think it almost makes me want to go back to Mass Effect 3 and do the DLC stuff, but I don't know, man. That ending just really pissed me off. And then when they did that extra shit to the ending, it just fucked it up more.
I agree to that.
Because it
proved that they didn't intend for it to be that way.
It proved that the indoctrination theory was false. And then they did this shit where you go and talk to your characters, like before you go in the ship, which ruined the whole tension of you running that thing, getting blasted, and then crawling to it. If you run to it and then get blasted and then go back and talk to your friends, that fucking ruins it. Now you can just casually walk back to that.
No, it's not in that order, but yeah, I do get your point.
Oh, they didn't do it like that?
No, well, I mean, they get shot, or they one of them gets hurt during the explosion. You go get them and then make them fly away, and then you take off running. And then
then you do the running thing?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not as bad. Okay.
Yeah. Still bad, but...
I don't know. Maybe I don't think I'll play it. I think I'll just watch. I do this a lot with video games. Do you ever just get on YouTube and watch story stuff?
Go play it.
But if I can just watch it, okay. Why not? Because I think Mass Effect 3 is not backwards compatible anyway. I had to pull up my Xbox 360. I'm too lazy to pull that out.
It's not backwards compatible yet, I don't think. If you had EA access, you could play it.
All the games to make backwards compatible, not Mass Effect?
They made Mass Effect 1 because EA didn't own it, but if you have EA access, you can actually play it right now. That's why I'm playing it.
Oh, you know another game with a good story I forgot to mention? Batman Arkham City.
See, I wasn't going to go that way. I would go the opposite direction with that.
You didn't like Arkham City?
I wasn't.
I'm not talking about Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was alright. It was pretty good. I thought Arkham City had
but even with Doctor... But what's...
Don't tell him he hasn't seen it.
Oh, well,
I've only been Asylum.
It wasn't...
You don't think that was a cool twist?
It kind of was a ripoff. But
Oh, really? Rip off of what?
with the daughter? You don't think that was a ripoff?
No. I'm talking about Arkham City with Joker. You know, where you're searching for a cure for him?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
But
you and me could talk a different time.
I don't think we're talking about the same part.
Matt might finally beat that game that he hasn't finished in maybe 8 years from now. So, okay. Well, I might do the DLC. I might have turned 2 people on to Dark Souls. So it's been a very productive night. But we've been doing this in 2 minutes. This will be 2 hours of a podcast. So this was a very special podcast. So look forward to another one with John Daniel. Thanks for turning to the Super Bomber Brothers Super Show. I'm so tired I couldn't even say that word. Dude, this is it's probably like 1 a.m. right now if we sound like we're out of energy. But man, we got
2:30.
Okay, goddamn. Hey, this was some good talk though. We'll see you folks next time.